This is Darren DePaul. You may or may not know me as a voice in some video games you may or may not be playing. And right now, you may or may not be listening to The Gaming Outsider. Roll the theme song. There may or may not be a theme song.
What's up, everybody? Scott here from The Gaming Outsider. On this week's episode, Zack and Alyssa are joining me to answer community questions. In news, there's unfortunately more layoff news. It seems to be a trend. You'll also hear Zack and I talk about the much-anticipated Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. Finally, Mark stops by to talk about Psychiatrist Simulator 2. This is The Gaming Outsider. Hey guys, if you're in the market for a new gaming chair, I've got a fantastic deal for you. We've partnered with VII Racing, who produces the most comfortable gaming chair I've ever sat in. They've got them in sizes for all gamers, and the quality is simply incredible. As a listener of The Go, you can get 25% off your order if you use the promo code TGO at checkout when you visit ewinracing.com. You don't have to just take my word for it, however, as multiple members of our community have picked up a chair for themselves, and they love it just as much as I do. You won't be disappointed. EWIN Racing, the best gaming chairs out there. Greetings, programs, and welcome to The Gaming Outsider, a video game podcast with a focus on our incredible community, which can be found at thegamingoutsider.com. We also have a community at facebook.com/groups/the GoCast, and even a Discord server, and you can find a link for that in the show notes of this very episode. It is Sunday, March 3rd. I'm your host, Scott Clark, and joining me are my friends. First off, the Sephiroth to my cloud, Mr. Zack Parkerson. What's up, man?
Wow, what an honor.
I thought about doing it the other way around, but I knew you'd be upset if I did not give you the Sephiroth.
I would be happy either way, I think.
Yeah?
Either way, it is true, though, because if you remember the first part in Remake, when Cloud is hallucinating Sephiroth, and he's like, "Who are you?" And Sephiroth just goes, "I am your everything." That's what I feel like I am, too.
Yeah. You are, dude. You are. Also, the Tifa to my Aerith, Miss Alyssa White. How you doing?
I'm here, but I am very highly honored to be even compared to Tifa, just a little bit.
If you can't tell, it's Final Fantasy VII Rebirth week, and so I don't know, be a fun way to introduce the show. But
sure, absolutely.
Good to see you guys. It's been a week. It's been a week, but I'm looking forward to diving in and talking about Final Fantasy VII. But before we do that, got some quick shout outs. Our Kevin and I decided we were going to do something kind of fun for the month of March. If you're familiar, I know, Alyssa, you are not a sports fan at all.
I've heard of this, though.
But the month of March is very well known for the basketball tournament for the NCAA called March Madness. And the way that works is, for those people that don't know how sports works, they start out with, what is it, like 32 teams? I believe it's 32 teams. And they basically bracket them down, and the winner goes on to the next round. We decided we're going to have our own video game version of March Madness. So Kevin has put together these Google Forms, and he basically made a matchup or a bracket of all these different games, and we're going to do it by audience participation, so everybody can vote on each one. He's doing one each day, and then once we get to the next bracket, you'll do the same thing. We used to do this back in the Rotten Tomatoes days back in the day, and it was a ton of fun, and I thought it'd be kind of cool to do that here. So,
I've been voting. Are we supposed to vote?
Yeah, absolutely. Everybody can vote.
I did not vote because I thought we weren't supposed to. So
no.
Okay.
It's community. It's everybody. So
everybody get out there, vote for Banjo-Kazooie. All right, let's bump those Banjo-Kazooie numbers up.
I'll be voting from now on.
We didn't do all games of all time. Kevin made the decision to do platformers from the 6th gen and before. So it's going to be all platformers for 2024.
Okay,
and
maybe I shouldn't vote then because I'm not well versed in that area.
At least go to day 2 and vote for Banjo-Kazooie.
Okay, I'll do that for you, Zach.
Thank you.
Let me know when Banjo-Kazooie comes up.
It's up against Mega Man X, which
that's not going to win.
Some stiff competition.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm going to vote for Mega Man X.
It's ridiculous. Come on.
I wonder how he chose them. I'm assuming he just did a randomizer or something like that.
I would guess a randomizer. Because the first round was Super Mario 64 versus Aladdin, and if he did that on purpose, that's just mean.
Yeah. But it's going to be fun to kind of see where it goes, and then our gaming outsider community will determine what is the best platformer solely based on voting, and I think it's going to be kind of fun to do that. So I'm going to try to figure out a way to get this like on the website, so we can actually have just like a one-stop shop place to have all the links, because just doing the Facebook and the Discord would get really confusing. But stay tuned. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. Also, our February, yes, I know it's March. Our February game giveaway is live. There's a Google form posted on social media, on Discord, Facebook, and all that. If you'd like to win a copy of Mario vs. Donkey Kong on the Nintendo Switch, we purchased a copy, and we'll be giving it away to one lucky person in the community. And I also did the drawing for January, finally, yesterday. Remember those banners from Kanan Barboza that I purchased? And then he offered to give 5 of them away. I finally did the drawing yesterday. So those 5 people will be... they're going to be in the mail by the time you hear this episode on Monday. He said he's going to ship them. So those are really, really nice, by the way. I really enjoy those a lot. So, okay, well, let's get in and talk about the games we've been catching up on, starting with Zack.
Yeah, I know nobody cares about Trails in the Sky SC, this PSP game from 2006 that I'm playing, but it continues to get better and better. And it did something recently that I just had to share with somebody, where there's like magic in the world, similar to like materia, right?
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and something has rendered them inoperable throughout the land.
Oh.
In a move that is not too dissimilar from the World of Ruin twist in Final Fantasy VI.
I was just going to say that,
which is super cool. Only here in Trails, like, it really makes you like live in the chaos a little bit, which is cool. Which is interesting. But they actually affect your gameplay because there are these devices that are like can counteract it. Kind of like an anti-EMP, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
But your quest at this point of the game is to try to help fix each of the towns. But each time you do that, you have to give up one of these items, which means one of your characters can no longer use magic.
At all?
At all.
Like, it's not like Final Fantasy where like you've got several different materia that give you different powers.
Because whatever is happening is rendering orbments useless, essentially. But I feel like most games would finagle a get out of jail free card for your characters,
Mm-hmm.
But this game has a get out of jail free card in that there are these things, but you need them to restore communications throughout the country, basically. So you have to give them up because they could only make so many. They could only make so many before things went bad.
That's kind of genius, actually.
It's very compelling, and it's making me use party members that are more physical dependent, which wasn't what I was basing things around. And the main character is Stella because like materia, right? You get to customize how they basically their own class essentially.
Mm-hmm.
I basically made her a battle mage, so she's about to become straight up useless. And you have to use her. So it's quite. But I really respect the decision of like, no, this is the story, and like your characters are not immune from it.
Now, if you had known that going in, would you have built your characters differently?
Perhaps, I don't know. It's the magic can be so powerful in this game. It'd be hard to give it up for all the other combat encounters. I think I just got to struggle through this section.
So it could just be a portion of the game, not like going to be locked out.
I can't imagine they're going to make you no magic till the end. That would be insane. But
that would be insane.
But even this is like a 6-hour portion of the game so far. It's pretty ballsy, and I had to put some respect on it.
The reason I ask, and you'll know where I'm going with this, is I'm having that quandary right now playing Remake about whether or not you know where I'm going at, like
in what to invest in or not.
Exactly, because we don't know what's going to happen. So because I remember playing that game originally on subsequent playthroughs, I made some different decisions because I knew where the story was going.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, of course.
Anyway, I'm glad you're digging that game, dude. I've not really familiar with the series at all, and you're kind of making me want to check that one out.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm going to be JRPG'd out for a while after.
Well, if you're ever interested in the Trails games, all of the Steam versions, which you can play in Steam Deck, of course, they all have a turbo mode so you can get through the battles faster, which is really nice.
Oh, nice.
Cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. How about you, Alyssa?
I'm still playing Banishers Ghosts of New Eden, and I'm loving this game. Definitely going to take longer than what I was told the length would be.
Yeah.
But that's because I'm doing like every single side quest and haunting case available because it just enriches the story so much.
You're solving them ghost crimes with your ghost wife.
Yeah, I gotta do it.
I understand.
I heard somebody else talking about it on a podcast, and they were saying that there's lots of choices to be made that are very gray area. Like there's no good choice, and that really intrigues me.
Oh yeah, you can choose to either ascend a ghost, which they say they don't actually know what happens, but I guess that would be like technically sending them to heaven. You can banish them, which I'm assuming would send them to hell. Mm-hmm. Or you can blame a human and sacrifice the human.
Oh.
Wait, hey man, if they're at fault, what are you gonna do? Yeah.
But it also affects what happens to Antea, whatever your decision is. So you also have to keep that in mind.
What oath did you swear, to ascend her or resurrect her?
I chose to ascend her because I was like, I don't want her to be a zombie kind of lady.
Yeah, I wonder what happens if you break that oath, but I guess you'll find out.
I've heard there's multiple endings, but I might have to look that up to see what happens when I finish the game. Like what happens if you break the oath.
I feel like this game came out at a really bad time, right before.
Because it was originally mid-November last year, and they delayed it because they didn't want any of the October games dragging it down.
But then they came out right before Final Fantasy.
Yeah, but then they put it in at an even worse time.
Mm-hmm. The only other thing I got caught up on, I did not get to play Baldur's Gate this week. I had intended to, and we decided collectively to play Final Fantasy instead. So
smart.
I just love me some Baldur's Gate. I took a break. Did get some Balatro in though before the game dropped. I have not got a second win yet, but the interesting thing about that game, and I don't know if I told you guys this, but there are different decks of cards that you start with. You can choose to start with different ones, and each one has like a different perk. The one that I won with affects how much money you get from having extra discards and hands left over. So it's much easier. You have a lot more money to play with, and the other ones have different perks that are not that. So I'm struggling to adjust, but in a good way. It's like changing my play style completely, and I'm really digging this. I hope you guys check out this game because it's man, you can't beat this game, right? I mean, it's just like a card game or whatever.
Like, even the trailer is like, you can't beat this.
Yeah, it's even when I win, I'm like, all right, let's do another one. Like let's go. But I feel like this one's going to be on my list at the end of the year. I love this game. So
I would love to play it, but it's been delisted since it's a gambling simulator.
Yeah, that's actually in the news. We'll get to that. Speaking of, let's go ahead and jump into the week's news. I got a new trailer that dropped this week. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Arcade Wrath of the Mutants is coming to consoles, Xbox, PlayStation, Switch, as well as PC on April 23rd. I feel like this is just going to be a weekly news story now. More layoffs this week, this time at Sony and EA. Balatro, speaking of, was pulled from some online stores this week, like Zack just mentioned. Embracer is selling Saber Interactive. There are some fake Helldivers 2 store listings that have appeared on Steam this past week. And lastly, Remedy has acquired the full rights to Control. Alyssa, what story would you like to start with?
I guess we'll start with the bad news, Sony and EA having layoffs.
Mm-hmm.
EA has laid off 700 employees. The biggest impact seems to be the Battlefield series, since it affects Ridgeline Games, which takes care of the single-player portions of the game, but hasn't been officially cancelled. The Mandalorian game has been cancelled, though.
We just we just heard about it like a week and a half ago, didn't we?
Yeah. Well, that was a leak, that wasn't their plan.
Yeah.
Other mobile games that have been cancelled are F1 Mobile Racing, MLB Tap Sports, and The Lord of the Rings Heroes of Middle-earth.
Dude, that game just came out.
Yes,
that's brutal.
Already being cancelled.
Yeah.
And Sony has laid off 900 employees, including from Guerrilla Games, Insomniac Games, and Naughty Dog, and also the entire London studio, which was responsible for PSVR games, which probably means that the Twisted Metal live service game won't be happening either.
That's too bad, because I think I probably wouldn't be as excited to play Twisted Metal multiplayer, but that just seemed like the next evolution for that series. Remember the one on PS3 that just wasn't very good, and I thought that series was going to be dead. But going multiplayer would have been pretty cool.
Well, yeah, the 2013 one I felt like failed because it was so multiplayer focused.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, this all sucks.
It does,
The only time I really played that multiplayer, obviously because of the generation it was in, was split screen with my buddies.
Hell yeah.
And and I think we only did 2-player split screen. I don't even know if we did that game have 4, or did it not go 4-player split screen to like Twisted Metal 4 or something like that? I can't remember.
Yeah, I want to say the early ones are 2-player split screen.
Yeah, I know the first one is for sure, but I don't know, man. And even I had more fun playing that in co-op than I did playing competitively. Like it just wasn't, because everybody else was in the match.
I think Twisted Metal as a live service makes a lot of sense. You could
too.
Yeah, you could have PvP or PvE game modes and co-op. You could do all sorts of stuff. Introduce characters along the way. You could have raids against a minion, I guess. There's a lot of potential there. More so than most of Sony's properties.
Right. What's interesting to me though is that I know the number is not as high as Microsoft's. However, Sony doesn't have like a massive acquisition or as big of an acquisition that Microsoft did to be like, okay, we got to start trimming the fat. There's going to be some overlap here. Do we know why these layoffs are happening? Is it?
I haven't seen anything about why they occurred.
They want to be part of the club, or like just don't.
Well, I mean, there's several points of conjecture. It could, it helps your margins going into the end of the quarter, right?
Yeah.
Because then your profit margin increases because you're paying less people. I assume the Bungie acquisition has cost them a lot of money.
Right.
And it is pretty clear they're not going to get it back. They severely overpaid for Bungie. And then to find out like a month later that Bungie had missed its sales targets by over 50% and laid off their own set of employees. But over 50%, like that's devastating.
Right.
In most instances.
This is like 9% or something, right?
Yeah. Well, I was just saying of Bungie's sales targets, like,
Oh yeah, my bad.
Because they paid over $1 billion for a studio, and then to hear that they can't even hit their own targets they made for themselves when they were independent, like that's pretty bad. So I would imagine there's some money you gotta save from that. And she's already did layoffs there. You gotta sweep the board elsewhere. The Naughty Dog layoffs, unfortunately, I get probably makes sense with Factions getting canceled.
Well, yeah.
Oh yeah.
But I mean that still sucks. But
so many people are looking forward to that game.
Yeah, I really don't understand why you couldn't just. Anyway, we've talked about it to death. Couldn't just put it out and just let it be a multiplayer game. But really, dude, the Insomniac thing is irritating.
Like Spider-Man 2 did pretty well.
They're almost single-handedly putting out all of your first-party titles this entire console generation.
Yeah.
Just shut up and let them do their thing.
Right. They're not the problem.
So if you succeed, you get laid off, and if you fail, you get laid off.
And no matter what happens, the CEOs are fine.
Yes, yeah. The people who decided to buy Bungie, they're okay.
Right. For that price,
they probably got a bonus because they just saved so much money firing 900 people.
Like, I made a bad decision. Let's just take it out on everyone else underneath me.
Of course.
I got a question though. You mentioned like part of this is to make the numbers look good at the end of the quarter, but more than likely, a lot of these people are going to have severance packages, right? So like, are those numbers really going to be looking that good until those packages are depleted?
Well, I guess what I'm trying to say, like, it'll set them up to look better because you know how short-sighted corporations are. It's always quarter to quarter. Mm-hmm. So now when they go into Q1 of fiscal 2024, their profit margins are going to look higher than they were Q4 2023.
Okay.
That's, it's...
I mean, I didn't read any details about, for all I know, maybe they don't even have severance packages. I can't imagine they didn't company that large. But
well, I would, it depends. It probably depends on how long they're there. I bet there's a lot of people who are working on Last of Us Factions who will not be getting a severance package.
Yeah, probably.
Or brought in, or contract work or whatever. Either way, it's bad all over. And shutting down London?
The entire studio.
A studio Sony started, not acquired?
Right.
What the hell?
I got the PSVR 2 being a flop thing right? Like, like official?
Oh yeah, for sure, yeah.
Well, yeah.
On our predictions. So, here's the thing. I know we're well overdue for a recession. Like, if you know anything about how the economy works,
in a recession.
We're long overdue for a serious recession like we had back in 2008.
Correct.
Like, it's not it's not nearly, we don't have like the mortgage housing crisis and everything going on yet, but this is the kind of stuff you expect to happen when that's going on.
Is that why, excuse me if I may interject, is that why people act like this is less devastating, is because of the housing stuff? Because anybody without a house is currently barely surviving.
Right.
And there is a major rent crisis. Is it just because people don't care unless it is housing related?
I don't know.
But
the rent is insane. Like, the town I live in, tiny little town, apartments here, $1,400 a month. I'm like, and our minimum wage is $7.25 an hour still. So I'm like, how is anyone affording the apartments here?
Yeah, I'm not trying to get political. It's just anybody I know with a house is acting like, yeah, we're due for a recession. Anybody I know without a house is like, I am not surviving.
Right.
So I don't know. I feel like that's the only relation I can find.
Well, I mean, I owned a house during the last recession. You know what I mean? Like in 2000, I had bought a house right before the recession. So paid this price for my home, and then that happened, and all of a sudden it is worth like 2/3 of what I paid for it, which was a bummer to hear, but that's all that affected me. You know what I mean? It wasn't like I wasn't struggling like you're expressing, people that don't own homes. I don't understand the whole rent thing. I truly don't understand who is paying that much for like you said, if they're making $7.25 minimum wage, how are they doing that without like just 14 people living in one home together or something like that?
I don't know a single adult who's ever had an apartment on their own.
Mm-hmm.
Not in my lifetime.
I mean, I remember when I first got my first apartment in Rockford. Now, granted, this is like over 15 years ago, like $400.
Yeah.
Now, granted, that was at I don't know how much you remember Rockford, but that was like in Great Oaks Apartments on the south side of Rockford. It wasn't great.
Yeah.
Great neighborhood, but for $1,400, that's more than I pay for my mortgage.
Yeah.
Granted,
but the unfortunate reality is there's no alternative.
Yeah.
Every other apartment has also raised its rent because they know that, well, the landlord down the street did it, so I guess I can do it too. And then the person has no choice but to accept that, because what are they going to do? Sad or live on the street?
Well, that, and if you keep it low to be either competitive or do the right thing kind of thing, then
hilarious.
What kind of tenant are you going to attract? You know what I mean?
I don't know. So, probably a thankful one, because they can finally afford to live somewhere.
Yeah.
All right. Well, anyway, that turned into an interesting conversation.
Sorry. No, I've just been wondering about that. That's all.
Yeah. Zach, what story do you want to talk about?
Well, I guess I'll swerve into some good news with Remedy acquiring the rights to Control, something I kind of assumed they had already had.
Yeah, I'm glad you said it, because I didn't know. I was like, this is news to me.
It must be like a publishing deal, right? Like maybe they own the characters in the setting, but they didn't own the publishing rights.
Mm-hmm.
You think maybe that was it? But anyway,
I don't know. This is all brand new information to me.
Remedy, of course, teamed up with 505 Games in 2017 to put out the hit banger Control in 2019. But they finally got the rights all themselves, which is good for their connected universe. Tiro Vertala, the Remedy CEO, said, as part of Remedy's long-term strategy to have more ownership over our business and the IPs we have created, we have gotten back all rights for Control and the in-development Condor and Control 2. Having complete ownership over the Control franchise gives us the freedom to decide the best path forward. We will consider options carefully, knowing that Control is considered an attractive franchise by many partners. Condor and Control 2 have both progressed well in recent months, and we expect these projects to reach their next development stages during the first half of 2024. The development of Condor and Control 2 will continue normally when we consider the best publishing, distribution, and financing model for these projects. This is coming in the wake of Alan Wake 2 selling 1.3 million copies, making it their fastest-selling game to date. Boy, this is good news all around for Remedy.
It is. It's just kind of funny to me that they had to have because you said the hit game Control. I feel like it was critically acclaimed, but it didn't do well sales wise, did it? Until like not initially.
It was. Yeah, I was gonna say it's one of those games that had a tail on it. I think they got a few million sales by the end. I'll double check that while you guys are talking.
Okay. But it's just interesting to me that they gotta have a hit success like Alan Wake 2 to be able to afford to buy back the rights to their own game that they from several years ago, which is which is interesting. But I'm happy that they're doing that. I wonder if this was a cart before the horse kind of situation where obviously Control 2 is in the works, it sounds like.
Mm-hmm.
And if they're doing this connected universe thing, which if a game's going to do that, Control's going to do that more than any other one, right? So, would they have been able to do this without that purchase? You know what I mean? Would Control 2 have been able to be what they wanted without getting the full rights to Control? Or is it just going to be, 505 has to give a stamp of approval on whatever they do in that game? I don't know. I don't know how it works.
Yeah, that's probably the truth of it, right? Because Control was a success, sold over 3 million copies, by the way.
Oh, okay.
But as with any corporate situation, when you're making a game nobody cares about, your publisher's like, yeah, sure, do whatever you want. And then when it's a hit, then they want to have their, stamps. They want to put their ideas into it.
You did great on your own, but we don't trust you. We're going to give you our ideas, and this is what we want you to do. I don't understand that.
Isn't it crazy that that's just like that's happened so many times though?
Yeah, that's just like the model.
Like how many movie sequels have been ruined because of things like that.
Yeah,
it's utterly ridiculous. But I think this is great news. Condor, right, is the multiplayer game set in the Control universe as well. I think this is great news. I am confused. I really thought they owned Control.
I did as well.
But from what I was reading, they got it from 505 for pretty good. All they had to do was essentially pay them back for what 505 put into Control 2 and Condor. They just kind of had to pay them back for that, and just they called it good.
Wow, that's a really good deal.
Yes,
I mean,
it is, yeah.
It's a shockingly good deal because normally you'd think that those companies would be like, no, where's our profit on this? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I think there's some kind of like through the end of the year, maybe the 505 still gets Control 1 like profits.
Oh, okay.
So I think so it's basically just like pay it back, give us the rest of the year, and then you can have.
So nobody buy Control until after the end of the year.
Yeah, that's
right?
That was my understanding reading into it, which like you said is a hell of a deal. But also everybody is laying people off, so maybe this 505 is just like, you know what, we could save money. We would have to put a bunch more money into the Control 2. So you know what, if we can just wash our hands of this and move on, maybe that's a smart path for them.
It might be, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And who knows, like what's going to happen in the near future, economy-wise, too. So,
and shout out to Remedy for making games that look as good as Alan Wake 2 and as long, a nice lengthy game as well, and then selling 1.3 million and being like, dude, that's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
What other publisher developer is getting excited about selling 1 million copies of a game of that, by the way, caliber?
Digital only.
Yeah, very frustrating.
That's true.
Imagine they probably could have sold an extra 1 million if they put out a disc.
It'll happen. There's gonna be a physical version at some point. I would imagine.
I would think so, right?
Yeah, I'd hope so.
Because I can make sense.
Limited Run will get their hands on it.
I was going to say probably Limited Run or another company of that nature.
Yeah, then you only have to wait 3 years to get your disc. It'll be great.
Yeah, I've never bought anything from Limited Run.
I've only bought one game from them, and that was back when they first started up, so it wasn't that long of a wait. I got the Shadow Complex PS4.
Love that game.
Oh yeah, copy. I have that PS4 copy as well.
Yeah,
so look at us. We were Shadow Complex buddies.
We are. I still haven't opened that. It's still in the plastic. I just wanted it for the physical.
You might be surprised how much that is worth.
I have not looked. But...
I will look it up later and let you know. But
I opened mine because that's what I do with things I buy. I open it.
Well, I'd already played it at that point, and I'm like, I just want it on play because I played it on Xbox. I'm like, I want it on PlayStation, but I'm like, never opened it.
It's a very, very good game.
It is.
It is. I've actually played through it twice. And I was back in the time when I rarely did that. So that is a
high praise.
Really good game. Yeah, I mean it's my style of game, right? Like
a gear gated
game.
Mm-hmm. Gear gated 2D adventure, as you would call it.
Gear gated game is all I'm saying.
Yeah. It's good. What about
looking it up? It is it's worth about $80.
Oh, okay.
Alyssa.
Oh, okay.
It's not too. That for a sealed limited run game does not actually feel too high.
No, it doesn't. I was expecting it to be higher than that.
Yeah.
All right, so we mentioned it already, but this Balatro being pulled from Switch consoles in non-US countries like Australia and the UK, they changed the rating from a 3+ to an 18+ due to it being poker themed. Apparently, some countries have assumed that the game is promoting gambling, and they've got really strict regulations against gambling in those countries. So this is hilarious to me because if you play the game, you make poker hands. Yes, there's no gambling. Like there's no betting. There are chips like there are in poker, but it's like, can I earn enough chips to pass this blind? Is all it is. You could call it points or something. It's just kind of insane to me. PlayStack went to social media to let everyone know that the game does not promote gambling and that they are working very hard to get it back on the eShops where it has been unavailable. The developer, which by the way is one guy, he goes by the name Local Thunk, is, quote, staunchly anti-gambling. So even he is like, I'm absolutely against this thing in general. Why would I make a game that promotes gambling? This is not that. Anyway, last point. The dev also said that he's not worried about it being pulled from PC. So if you're a PC player, don't worry. But
what is
if you're in the US, don't worry.
If I may ask an important question, what's a thunk? Do you think that's a thinking hunk, like a thoughtful hunk?
I didn't think that until now, but I think you're right.
Yeah. Wow.
I just assumed it was that, the noise, like the onomatopoeia you see in comic books or whatever. Thunk.
Thunk. Yeah.
Yeah. No idea.
But, I like thoughtful honk or thinking honk.
Yeah, as a thoughtful hunk myself, I was seeing...
As our thunk.
Yeah, as the Gaming Outsiders local thunk. I was just seeing another one of my people out there.
This whole story to me reeks like somebody that does not understand what games are and what they do and how they work got a hold of this and ran with it and spread it to other people that don't.
Poker equals gambling.
Yeah. If you're making poker hands, it's gambling.
The first thing I thought of was when they were doing the TikTok investigations in Congress. The congressman was like, he's like, yeah, are you Chinese? And the guy's like, no, from Singapore. And he's like, have you ever been Chinese? He's like, no, I'm Singaporean. That's a whole other country.
No, does it connect to your Wi-Fi?
Dude, it was so fun. That's what it reminds me of is like another staunch reminder of everybody that runs every country is so wildly out of touch with reality.
That's popped up on my feed multiple times, and I watch it every time.
So ridiculous.
I can't believe that this is actually happening.
I can't believe that this is a person who's running our country.
Yeah.
Who thinks China and Singapore are the same thing.
Yeah. Anyway, any other reason to bring up Balacho, because more people need to play that game. Yeah,
I do feel for Local Thung. His sales are being affected here, which is unfortunate.
Yeah. And that game is not, I think it was like 500,000 sales he made in that first week or whatever.
Whoa!
Which for a single developer is pretty good.
Mm-hmm. Is it a $15 game, right?
15, yeah.
So this guy's set.
He should be. I mean, he's also talking about making a mobile version of it because this would be perfect.
Yeah.
For mobile. Outside of, these matches are not like 5-minute matches. These are 25, 30-minute sessions. It's like a run. You know what I mean?
Right. It's a perfect thing to do on the pot at work. You can get paid while you're playing in Balacho.
Or, you have a long commute on the bus or whatever. Yeah. Play it.
That too.
Yeah, that too. Or a car ride or whatever.
Thinking of ways to take advantage of the man, that's all.
Well, that's the week's news. Very quickly, I want to remind everybody that we are an independently funded podcast, which means we do pay for our podcast hosting services and website out of our own pockets, which is why we have a Patreon page to ask fans to help contribute monthly to help offset the costs of production, as well as give back to our community. If you'd like to help out, you can do so over at patreon.com/thegocast. We've got a couple different levels. At the $3 tier, we give you a bonus episode each month, and at the $5 tier, we give you 2 bonus episodes each month. And if you even just contribute $1, you'll get the episode a day earlier than everybody else. And we've also got a catalog of all the episodes on our website. So if you are a new Patreon subscriber and you want to kind of go see what there is to offer, you got a whole catalog of stuff that we've been doing for years and years that you can go back and listen to other content, and it's not time sensitive, except for like maybe a spoiler cast here or there. But right now, we've got out available for you 2 new episodes, and I got to say this with a bit of an apology because these are both episodes that were supposed to be out in February, but scheduling was kind of crazy in February. People were sick and people were not available. But we finally got it done. They are recorded, and by the time you hear this episode, they will be live for you. One of them being our Peace of Mind episode, where Zack, Alyssa, and myself sat down and talked about whatever we wanted to talk about, which this week was, things we obsess about that we used to hate, how many products we use in the bathroom, and our thoughts on stealing. So that's a really fun episode. And also our Meet the Patrons episode, our second one. This is where I invite people from our Patreon community who contribute each month, basically come on and talk about the games they've been playing, and maybe some thoughts about the episodes that they would like to contribute as well. I recorded with Christina Flores, CJ Moore, and Joel Solinsky. Those are my 3 Friday night online buddies. I used to say my Borderlands crew, but we're not playing Borderlands anymore. So we started Baldur's Gate 3, and we always played a bunch of other different stuff. So both those episodes are available right now. We've also got some episodes coming up. Kevin and I are going to be doing a trade-off episode. This is where we each challenge each other to play one of our favorite games from our childhood. And we said we're not going to do JRPGs anymore because they take too long. So we decided to do a couple of JRPGs. Kevin has never played Paper Mario, and I thought this would be a good time to do that with the sequel coming up on Switch here in the next couple months. And he challenged me to play a game on Dreamcast that I've never even heard of called Evolution: The World of Sacred Device, which CB actually has a copy of. So I'm going to be playing this on the original hardware.
I like how you say actually, like it's as if it's some sort of surprise.
You'd be surprised how many. I know. There's been times where I say, dude, I need to play this game for Patreon. Do you have a copy? And he's like, nope, don't have that one.
Wow.
So I gotta scour the local shops and stuff. And this one's it's not a rare game. So also, at some point, Zack and I are going to do a break to seal on the Lone Ranger on NES. Hopefully,
sure.
Convince him to play.
Yeah, I'm fine.
And I gotta finish Sands of Time as well. But anyway. If those episodes or any of our past catalogs sound interesting to you, please check out patreon.com/thegocast. We do appreciate the support, and thank you to everybody that is contributing. We really do appreciate it. Now let's go ahead and jump into the new games that we've been playing. Zack, what is new on the horizon that I'm definitely not going to play this week?
There's a lot of games coming out. Can't wait for you to play none of them.
Yeah.
Coming out first, Tactics RPG from Vanillaware, a studio who does not seem to ever want to make the same game twice. Unicorn Overlord comes to PS5, PS4, Xbox Series consoles, and Switch March 8th. This year's wrestling game, WWE 2K24, comes to PS5, PS4, Xbox Series consoles, Xbox One, and PC March 8th. New Contra game, Contra Operation Galuga, going a little 2D action, coming to all consoles and PC March 12th. Passing by a Tailwind Journey, looks like a kind of a papercraft survival game, coming to Switch and PC March 12th. Llama Soft, the Jeff Minter story. This is the next interactive documentary from Digital Eclipse. This is part 2 of the Goldmaster series. That comes to all consoles and PC March 13th. Throwback retro platformer Violet Wisteria comes to all platforms, but not PC, on March 13th. Horror game Ib comes to PS5 and PS4 March 14th. You can channel your inner crime lord with Cartel Tycoon coming to PS5 and Xbox Series consoles March 14th. This one's for you, Scott. You can cut grass wherever you want because Lawnmower Simulator coming to Switch March 14th. Finally. You can channel your inner Kevin Costner with High Water coming to all consoles and PC March 14th. What the Golf, an Apple Arcade hit coming to PS5 and PS4 March 14th. And then Star Wars Battlefront Classic Collection is going to make 30-year-old boys and girls happy the world over as it comes to all consoles and PCs March 14th. Alyssa.
Yes.
Are you going to be playing any of these games?
No, because I need to play a certain game that we'll talk about soon, and I have to finish a game, so sadly everything has to be backlogged.
Well, what looks the most interesting to you?
Highland looked interesting, besides, I don't know about the turn-based combat that I saw in the trailer. But otherwise, it looked really interesting. So maybe Highland.
Are you not a turn-based fan?
I am, but I don't know. Something about just what I saw in the trailer didn't click with me. Maybe, like, actually playing the game, it would actually be something I'd enjoy.
Understood. I just would have been very surprised to hear you if you didn't like turn-based. What about you, Scott? Any of these games looking interesting to you? I know you're just going to be playing Rebirth.
Yeah, but I'm actually shocked at how good Contra Operation Galuga looks. It looks like very much like old school, like original Contra, just with some, beefed up graphics and new characters and stuff. I think it looks fun. I'm going to wait for a sale just because I'm too overloaded right now, but that looks really good.
I do have to make a correction. I just called it Highland. It's High Water. I don't know why I was thinking Scottish when I was talking about that game. Just correcting myself before someone else does.
Yeah, something to do with the Outlander poster behind you.
Yeah, probably. I was probably looking at the poster and I was like, Highland. High Water.
As for me, of course, the nostalgia for Star Wars Battlefront is high for people my age. But dude, even with Rebirth, I've got to make time for Lamasoft, the Jeff Minter story.
Yeah.
I don't know when. Maybe you're right. Maybe it'll have to wait. But dude, the making of Karateka was such an exciting documentary, and with this Lamasoft, I don't really know anything about Jeff Minter, so I'm about to learn a whole lot about him.
I might just pick it up just because I want to support this project.
Yes.
I want this thing to keep going, and like instead of waiting for a sale. Just grab it now and know that I'll play it when things calm down a little bit, or play it or experience it.
And buying it full price, right, is a good way to send the message of, yes, more Goldmaster Series projects, please. Because it is just so cool.
Yeah. I like it.
Preserves game history in a fun and interactive way. And not for nothing, but it's going to come with like 40 games you can play.
That's a lot.
Is Space Draft going to be on there?
That might be an exaggeration, by the way. Maybe it's like 20. It comes with a bunch of games. I don't know about Space Draft. Yes, sure.
So, Scott and Zack, you've been playing the game that came out this month, and I'm very jealous of you, but that is my own fault. Hopefully I'll join you soon, but you're both playing Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. Okay, is this game amazing? Is it living up to the hype of the first game? Or the original game? I need the details.
Zach, you want to start or you want me to start?
Well, I feel like you. I mean, yeah, I kind of want to hear what you have to say.
I'm curious.
I want to hear what both of you want to say.
I thought it started with an absolute bang, a great twist right out the gate. Get your blood pumping immediately, which is.
Do you have any idea how hard it was for me not to text you and say I wasn't going to spoil it?
Yeah,
but to just be like, boy, they sure come out the gate swinging on this game.
Yeah,
I didn't do it, man.
Yeah, I apologize. I apologize if that's somehow a spoiler to say that there is a cool twist at the beginning.
No. I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying that I wanted you to go into it as fresh as I did. So because this is such a massive title for both of us. You know what I mean?
Right.
I didn't want to run the risk, and I think you actually asked me a question, and I was very, very leery about answering it.
Yeah, I only asked you one question, and it would have happened to have potentially ruined this portion. So anyway, but then what I really like is it does the Nibelheim flashback, the demo stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But
I skipped it, by the way.
Yeah,
did you?
I did, yeah, because I had just played the demo.
Yeah.
Anyway, but it just goes. You know what I mean? There's no boy, it sure was crazy when the stuff at Shinra HQ went down, huh, guys? No, it just picks up right where it left off.
Okay.
Which I think is really, really nice. It has a recap video if you want to watch it. I like that. As for the characters, they're just going. It's just the next part of their story,
Yes.
So I guess it hits the ground running right away.
I've gone through two different stages of my experience with this game.
Okay.
At the beginning, because the big noticeable difference of this game is that it's open world in a different way that Remake was.
Yeah.
It in some respects it feels like a Assassin's Creed game or a Far Cry game. In
just
terms
stuff
of
pops up constantly.
I mean, there are straight up towers to climb.
Seriously,
you're climbing towers.
Yeah, there are towers, and then when you activate the tower, then boop, 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 boop,
here's some
pops up.
I didn't expect that to be in a Final Fantasy game, so now
I didn't either.
I didn't either for two reasons. One, it's weird in Final Fantasy, but two, even Ubisoft games don't really do the tower thing anymore.
Right.
Yeah, they kind of phase that out.
Yeah, it was really weird to see in this. It's
So
really weird to see Cloud climb at a tower to get map icons.
Right. And that was like my initial gripe with this game is I had just finished watching the recap, like multiple recap videos of Remake and going back and learning about Zack and all this kind of stuff because I never played Crisis Core. And so I just kind of wanted to go into it as if I had just finished Remake.
Well, and he's on the box, so presumably he's important.
Right. So I went into this, and all I wanted to do was to see what's going to happen. I wanted to know what's happening with Sephiroth, and I want to know what they're gonna do differently, because the story is fascinating to me, and I think what they're doing is really interesting. With the whispers and everything from the first game, and so all I wanted to do was push the story, and that's what I did. And then the game has me chasing chocobos to bus stops, and then it has me corralling Moogles into fenced areas, and
you become a farmer.
Yeah, and then
there's a lot of farming and southern vibes in this game.
Yes. What else does it have you do? There's mini game after mini game after mini game in this. Dude, it feels like
that's my biggest takeaway so far of episode Rebirth. It is mini games, the video game.
I mean, even like you have to find like these crystal things, and it's a mini game of like the circle gets smaller, and when it gets over the smaller circle, you have to press the button.
Oh yeah, that kind of mini game, yeah.
Or there's one where you have to find these summon guys, and it's almost like a clock thing, and you have to memorize the button combinations,
so like
and
Simon Says kind of thing.
Yeah,
it's a rhythm game. Even in my experience, most of the side quests have a lot of the side quests will have some kind of weird mini game that is just a one-off for that side quest.
Right.
It's crazy.
And
there have been things where I'm like, surely this will be a cutscene, and then they just here's a quick mini game for you.
Right.
Yeah, who on the team wanted all these mini games implemented?
Well, I mean, there were mini games in the original.
Okay.
There were not as many, I feel like, but and they were like just done once. But with this being an open world game, you do it once, and then you go to another place and you'll do it again. So at the big, go ahead.
I was just saying, and the mini games I think speak to what I'm loving most about this game. It is that this game is total PS1 energy, but with PS5 game sensibilities.
That's a really good way to put it. Yeah,
and I am absolutely in love with that. It feels like a pretty modern, all the nice quality of life amenities of a modern game, but it's got such PS1 heart and soul in it.
I've not considered that, but that is a perfect way to say it.
They should put that on the box art.
Yeah,
they should. Yeah.
So when I started this game, I was very frustrated. I mean, now granted, I took Thursday off from work and played this game 12 hours straight just because I was obsessed with the story.
Yeah.
And that's not no exaggeration. 12 hours, man. And I kept hitting these roadblocks of all this ancillary stuff, and I just kept skipping it and skipping it and skipping it. Like I would do the one just to get it done, and then I'd go to the story mission, and this is awesome. And then Zack made a comment over our text message, like, "Wow, you're not doing the side stuff?" And I was like, "Wow, that really isn't very Scott Clark of me." So I spent So I spent today's session doing all the side stuff. There's the first area is called the Grasslands. I actually did all of the intel for that section, except I did not do all of there are these beast side quests where you have to hunt these certain animals or whatever.
Yeah.
And you have to do it with certain criteria, like stagger them and pressure them and don't let them use poison. And I have zero interest in doing any of that.
I have zero interest in helping Chadley out. That kid can go to hell.
I don't like Chadley either.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of Chadley either.
He's even more annoying in this game.
Oh, no.
Dude,
he was already annoying.
Chadley gets a friend who's just as annoying.
Oh, no. Double the Chadley.
Yeah. Dude, it's
she's so annoying, she annoys Chadley. Like,
oh, they're going to get married for sure.
Well, she's like an AI, I think, so...
Hey, Chadley would marry an AI.
Probably, but... So anyway, that was my initial experience, but then today, when I just actually sat and focused and did that, and it is rewarding. I feel like the rewards you get, like you... did you do any of the VR stuff, like the combat simulator?
So this is... I didn't mean to force you into clearing off every icon. I was just talking about the side quests themselves, because... And you're right, Scott Clark is a map clearer, you're right. But the side quests themselves are all very interesting, unique stories, and they tend to focus on one of your party members.
Yeah, like if you complete it, then then you get like you build favor with that
your bond deepens, but also like you just learn like, Barrett talking about how hard it's going to be when Marlene leaves the house, like they just have these cute little moments with Cloud. It's just kind of like Cloud buddies up with one of the party members for a side quest is what it feels like.
Yeah.
And it focuses in on them, and it's unique, and it's
I
great
love when games do that.
They're definitely far more interesting than they were in Final Fantasy 16.
Yes, yeah. That's not pretty low bar.
No, I feel like I'm talking negative about this game, but I can't put it down. I want to be playing it right now. And I want to talk about some of the things that are the same but different. I feel like each individual character, obviously they're different characters and they have different play styles. Cloud has the Buster Sword, Barrett has his arm gun, Aerith has her staff, and Tifa uses her fists and all that. But I feel like they even play vastly more differently than they did in the first game. They each have their own mechanics now. And I didn't even realize how deep that went until I started doing the combat simulator thing with Chadley, which by the way I recommend doing because you get some materia and stuff to kind of round out your slots if you don't, save some money there.
Okay.
The early ones are really easy. But I can't do I tried beating the Titan summon and I can't. And I refuse to drop
I'm glad I'm not alone.
I mean, I got about halfway down and I was just you can't use items. I don't know how you're supposed to take them down with it.
That's true. Well, I don't know about you. I'm playing on the dynamic difficulty.
I am not. I'm playing on the default.
So I'm always worried that I'm like, well, is the difficulty in like the harder setting right now? Is this why it's so tough?
Wait. When you say dynamic, is that like I had a choice to either play it basically like turn-based or action or something? That's not what you're talking about? You're actually talking about a difficulty level?
No, yeah. It asked me if you wanted like easy, normal, and then they were like the turn-based version of each of those. And then it said, or if you want dynamic, where like the longer you go without dying, the harder things get. And then when you die, it'll lower the difficulty back down.
Oh, I don't remember seeing that somehow. I don't know what I did.
Yeah.
That's cool they give you that option.
Yeah.
It was nice.
That is really cool. And Zach, feel free to jump in here. I don't want to like monopolize the conversation here because I think you're enjoying it as much, if not more so than me.
Sure, I'm loving it.
I love how there's just things that are sprinkled in that trigger memories of playing the original game. Like you got to get a chocobo across the swamp. You know what I mean? Like,
oh yeah, sure. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But that scene, without spoiling anything, is a great example of how they're playing with your expectations. Mm-hmm. Because that's the serpent, I guess, has a very memorable scene in the original FF7,
mm-hmm.
and it is recreated differently here in an interesting way.
Because I remember, doesn't it in the original like it kind of like pans up to show something, and I was like, man, that was really cool in the original game, and then the way they do that in here is yeah, you're right, it's pretty sweet. And I did not see that coming either. Right,
and just another reason why this trilogy of games will never replace FF7. It will exist alongside the original FF7.
Mm-hmm. Do you feel at all overwhelmed by how much each character has at their disposal so early on?
Talking about like combat wise, or
like the abilities. I feel like I have one or two that I use, and maybe it's my fault just because I'm just like spending all of those folio points. It's like its leveling system.
Yeah, it's like a baby's first sphere grid.
Yeah, exactly. Which I'm just picking whatever. Like if I see one that like raises my damage, or raises my HP, I'm definitely getting that one, but I'm just doing whatever. So,
yeah, I'm with you. Actually, I don't think the folio system is very cool or interesting at all. I'm just picking the points because I have them.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like it's somehow an even more boring version of a skill tree to me.
Oh no.
But I just pick whatever the synergy attacks are. That's pretty much what I'm focusing on. Because it is cool that you can do these little team up attacks with your party members if the battle goes on long enough.
Right, but there's also synergy attacks that you can do at any time. Like they're and I didn't realize that until I went into the combat simulator.
Yeah, where you can like guard and call them in for a little like help out. Yeah, but that's weird, right? Because doesn't it just kind of like raise your ATB a little faster?
Right.
Yeah, so it's not super helpful.
it's crazy how complex this thing is. But what's your? Do you have like a standard 3-party that's like your go-to, or have you been swapping them around?
Yeah, well, I think my most common party is Cloud, Tifa, and Aerith.
Okay,
Keep my girls around. But I like to pop in Barrett every now and again for switch them out with Aerith.
Yeah,
but I haven't played a lot with Red 13. Sorry,
I haven't either. Mine has been mostly Cloud, Barrett, and Aerith. Aerith's my healer. I switched the cure spell over to her, and then Barrett just because I like his is the easiest attack to use consistently. To where you shoot, and then you kind of he hits it against the ground to reload his little bar, and then he gets to unleash this awesome attack, which really helps the stagger go down. So I've been using that quite a bit. But.
Yeah, sure. I just Tifa's the most fun character for me to play as. The way she's the fastest on the battlefield, so I always like playing as her.
Well, plus she's meant to be a brawler, right? You're you can just kind of go in. She's got this ability where you can roll and then attack right after the roll to do some extra damage, and then flip them in the air, and that's pretty cool. Yeah,
she's pretty awesome. To your point, I guess there are kind of an overwhelming amount of options that you can do at any one given time, but because the game is, a fusion of turn-based and real-time, you can always take a breather if you need one to kind of reassess the situation. That's my biggest takeaway with Rebirth so far, is remembering how much fun the combat was in Remake. This really is just one of the most fun RPG battle systems out there, because it fuses the real time. So if you have a problem with turn based, you can feel like you're doing something while you're waiting for those gauges to fill. But then, and it's just this push and pull of trying to avoid attacks and trying to get enough attacks in to raise an ATB gauge so you can actually use one of your abilities or spells, and it's just I don't know. Your both your brain and reflexes are constantly having to be used, and it's so much fun.
I agree. The only nit I have with the game so far is, although there is a fast travel system in the game, it does not let you fast travel between zones. So if you are in, what's the second zone called? I can't remember now.
The Junon region.
Junon, right? Yeah, the Junon region. If you're in the Junon region, you cannot fast travel to a spot in the grasslands.
You can.
You can?
Yeah.
How do you do that? Because it doesn't show up for me.
You need to fix the ranch in Junon.
Oh, is that what it is?
And then there's a side quest to this guy has a carriage courier service basically, and you restore that, and that'll let you fast travel to each region. I don't know if you have to do that. Whenever I get to the third zone, will there be another ranch I have to fix up to unlock fast travel? I would assume so. But yeah, there is a side quest to unlock fast travel between regions.
Yeah, They're really leaning into the farming stuff.
Yeah, dude.
Can you fix my ranch up?
Yes, absolutely. Well,
there's a whole getting into chocobos. There's this stealth sneaking mission you have to do where you have to figure out. It's like a puzzle.
Yeah, it's like
where you have to figure.
It is really funny. Like a stealth puzzle mini game. Another mini game
with chocobos.
Yeah, you have to capture a chocobo, but there's one specific chocobo you have to in each section, and you have to get to that chocobo from behind without any of the other chocobos seeing you. So there's literally one where you have to turn on a minecart that slowly moves around on these train tracks and hide behind the minecart so that you stay out of view of the ones that are in the way, and kind of slowly work your way around in a circle counterclockwise until you can get behind the other chocobo, and it's nuts.
It's a lot of fun.
Yes.
Okay, I was wondering if it was fun or not.
Well, it's fun. It's fun because it's not really stealth. It's a puzzle first.
Right. But all I'm thinking in the back of my head when I'm wrangling Moogles and stuff is the world is about to end. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
And I'm doing this goofy stuff. I haven't seen a mini game where I exercise yet. Wasn't that a big thing in the original Final Fantasy VII?
Yeah.
Where he does those squats or whatever.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Oh, it was in Remake, wasn't it? I think it was in Remake.
There was a part in the remake where you got in a competition and you had to do squats.
I know.
A certain amount.
He did them in the truck at the very in the Nibelheim flashback.
Right.
I remember that, but
he sure did.
So I don't know how we can answer this without spoiling, because I know this is the base story is several years old. But how far are you?
I am about to get to Costa del Sol. I'm on a cruise ship to Costa del Sol.
Okay.
The cruise ship portion is cool. I don't want to give anything away, but it's very minigame focused.
Yeah.
Surprisingly.
What makes sense with a cruise ship?
Yes, it is a lot of fun. A lot of cameos from remake characters as well. So keep your eyes open while you're on the cruise ship. Pro tip.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, so that's where I'm at. Where you said you're still in Junon.
Yes, I think the last big moment I did was when we were introduced to the new character. Although the new character is not playable to me yet, but shows in my party. You know what I'm talking about?
Mm-hmm. Yes. Mm-hmm.
It was right after fighting a monster in the water. I guess I can say that.
Yes, I know exactly where you're at. You're about to get to a part where if we had made another stake bet about this part of the FF7 story, I would have lost too, because there's another part where I'm like, there's just no way they're going to have that in the remake, and there it was. I was like, man, they just really. I appreciate their commitment to giving the fans what they want.
I keep forgetting about that steak dinner. You got to remind me.
Right, it's over 4 years due.
Yeah.
Yeah, but dude, I don't like the story though. Loving it.
Me too.
I appreciate it takes its time, and because it does that, these characters are fleshed out way more than they were in the original game. They're like characters like Red 13, or maybe to an extent because Barrett was treated a little more comedically, I feel like, in the original game.
Mm-hmm.
But like these are characters now, like I love these people now. Barrett's my boy. I want to go with Barrett everywhere.
It still makes me laugh whenever Barrett sings the victory song.
Yeah.
I don't know why he did it in the original too, or in remake, and it made me laugh. But
they're taking time. Like even like the Turks, I think, are getting a little more fleshed out.
Mm-hmm.
Not where you're at, but they're more fleshed out than they were in the original game too. It's just, I don't know. Extending this story out is doing wonders for the world and the characters in it.
Yes, and I'm not as far as you, obviously, but the little bit that I did see, there's one scene that you know what I'm talking about with the Turks that I was like, oh. This is new.
Yes, definitely.
So.
What are your feelings on Queen's Blood?
Oh my goodness, I have a love-hate relationship with it. I think it is a really cleverly designed card game that took me a while to wrap my head around, and I still feel like I'm not fully getting it because I cannot come up with a strategy. Like, I know how the game works now, but I have no way to win. I just feel like I'm just guessing as I go.
In a somewhat opposite reaction, I think it is a badly designed card game.
Oh,
but
really?
I am winning every match now. Even though I have figured the card game out, I still think it kind of sucks.
Oh, really?
Because it's less of a card. Calling itself a card game, I think, is a misnomer. It is a board game first.
There you go. Yeah,
because it is all about the positioning of where you put the positioning of your cards matters more than what they do or what they're worth.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So to me is more of a board game than a card game. However, I am doing every challenger I find. I can't help myself. There's a card game in a game. I must beat everybody at it. And and there's even a story attached to Queen's Blood that is beginning to develop, which is super cool.
Oh, interesting. So I guess I'm going to have to go do all those then.
Well, if you want to, don't do anything that's not fun.
Well, it's fun when I win. When I lose 3 times in a row,
that's when it's not fun. But Queen's Blood is a cool name for just a board game in general.
Well, they also shorten it to QB, which in
that's
my
not
head
cool. That's quarterback.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. QB is quarterback, so I'm like,
and I'm not even into football, and I'm like, QB is quarterback.
Yeah, right.
It's not Queen's Blood.
So yeah, even despite the initial reaction I had with this game, I am absolutely loving it. It's all I want to be doing. I can't decide if I'm going to clear everything. I did that for the first section just to be able to say I did it.
Yeah.
And also because the fights were getting a little difficult for me. I'm not as good at this type of game as Zack is.
How do you know how good I am? Why are you putting yourself down right now?
You're playing at the hard difficulty and not having any issues. I'm playing on normal.
I have died on a boss. Thank you.
I've died on. Actually, I feel like
a boss.
I feel like I've died on only one boss, but I feel like I die on smaller enemies just because I'm not managing my health on the way. I realized I wasn't utilizing my, I can't remember what it's called now, where you can actually make potions and elixirs and stuff like
the
that.
item transmuter,
Something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. That's right. There's crafting because it's a video game released in 2024. Therefore, it must have crafting.
I'm kind of obsessed with it just because I want to see that level go up. But
Dude, I was gonna say they tricked me though, because normally I don't really care about crafting. Crafting is fine; it's whatever in games. But here, you level up when you get new recipes. Every time you do a new recipe, you level up, and now you can do more advanced recipes. And I'm like, damn it, they tricked me into caring about this crafting a little bit.
Or for fewer resources. So, and
yeah,
honestly, that's where I'm getting a lot of my resources instead of shops, because I collect everything I find on the ground to the point where like it says I can't carry anymore. So I'm like, I got to go in there and spend some stuff. So
I didn't even know it would say that. That's great. I thought I was picking up everything, but
I tend to be someone that picks up everything too. So now I'm like, am I going to have a heavy, not backpack, but the equivalent?
It's really nice though, because if you ride a chocobo, when you go over stuff, if there's like a group of things together, and you go to pick it up, it just picks up all of them.
Right.
Which is
cool.
Kind of nice. Oh, and chocobos can climb.
That's true. They can climb rock walls.
I'm trying to picture it in my mind.
Oh,
like you want
to picture something in your mind? Picture Red 13 riding a chocobo.
But he rides it like a real boy.
Yeah, it's.
Oh God.
It looks really, really weird. Like he sits on it like we sit on a horse.
Oh no, the image in my head.
It's pretty great.
It's pretty entertaining.
Yeah,
so.
This is a world I just want to get lost in forever.
And we're going to.
Right.
Because apparently it's like 60, 70 hours without doing all the side stuff. So
yeah, I'm having trouble believing that based on my chapter progression so far. But
yeah, because I was like in chapter 4 in the first like 6 hours. So,
but maybe they stretch out later down the road.
Do you have any theories as to where the cutoff's going to be?
Well, my great fear is that when they get to the one twist to rule them all, that they'll cut to black as a sword is descending. Then I would lose it. I might throw a controller at a screen or something. But no, I would think it'll be right after the big twist. That would be my guess.
Okay.
Which I guess leaves a lot of game left for the third part.
Yeah.
But I feel like that's a natural end point.
That was where the disc ended, wasn't it?
I think so.
That sounds right.
But then the third part might be a little more. Would that be a little more linear than here in Rebirth?
Probably.
Yeah, I'm just hoping that it doesn't take them like 6 years, to put out the next part.
Nah.
We'll see.
All right, that is Final Fantasy VII.
Wait,
Rebirth.
Would you agree that that's where they'll end it, or do you think it'll be a different point?
It's the only one that makes sense, but I feel like this game is also setting us up to not expect certain things.
Right.
You know what I mean?
And that's not a spoiler at all, obviously.
No, we're not there.
No, I was just letting people know that you know how people get with spoilers. I'm just trying to.
It would be a banger way to start out part 3. I don't even remember what part 3 is supposed to be called.
I don't think they've announced yet.
They didn't?
Did they?
I thought they did. When they announced Rebirth, I thought they did the third one at the same time.
I feel like they did, and I think it's another word that starts with R, but
Renaissance or something like that.
I can't think of it.
Is it? It can't be Reunion, right? Because that was a Crisis Core.
Remember?
Can't think of it.
Anyway,
I remember they put the silhouetted logo on the screen. I just can't remember if they had named it or not.
Maybe I'm imagining it. I like you said, I remember the silhouetted screen, but I thought they gave the name for all 3, but I could totally be.
It seems like Untitled third installment is what I'm reading.
Okay.
I mean, it's going to be an R something.
Well, yes, it would be silly if it was not.
Revelation.
Yeah, well, I was going to Reunion would make sense with the story, but they already used it for the Crisis Core remaster, so it'd be goofy if they used that again. But it might be like Revival or
Revival. That would make sense.
Yeah.
Oh, it could make sense.
It could make a lot of sense.
All right, well, let's go ahead and move on. I got another review to share with you guys. I sat down with Mark to talk about a game that he checked out for us. We're going to play that for you right now. Well, hello there, Mark. Long time no see.
Hey, how's it going, Scott?
Doing all right. You're becoming quite a regular, man. Like you're here like every other week, if not every week. It's kind of awesome.
Well, there might be a little bit of a break after this one.
Okay. Well, they can't all be winners, man. And I still got to I still got to hear about this game because I was actually surprised you decided you wanted to review this game. Because it didn't interest me at all. But and I don't want to sound like overly negative before we even announce the name of the game. But Psychiatrist Simulator 2, which comes from developer Ethrabaria and was provided to us by Press Engine. You're playing this on Steam, correct?
Correct.
And I know there's all kinds of simulator games out there, but this one you play as a psychiatrist.
Yep.
And game is full motion video.
Yep.
Is that right?
Yep.
And I'm assuming there's dialogue options, but tell me about this game. What do you like, or what do you like or not like about it?
Well, it's very simple. Ethrabaria Games is one person, and he's doing the best he can, I think, with very, very limited resources. The full motion video is volunteers who have recorded themselves on any random device. The sound quality is hit or miss.
Oh, so it's probably done like during COVID or something? People.
It looks like it might have been.
Yeah.
But it also looks very 80s.
Intentionally?
I'm not
for
sure.
Effect,
it might just be limited resources. I'm not, the Office. I'm air quoting Office. I do that a lot on this podcast for some reason. But the Office is not full motion video. It is graphically generated, and all you can.
Oh, like one of those background images like you get on Zoom or
kind of like no, it's 3D. It is 3D, but all you can do is look around. You're sitting in your chair and you can look around, and then you click on the patient file, or you click on. Almost like a textbook. It explains what every ailment is, what the different treatment drugs do, what they're for. So everything that you need to beat the game with 100% accuracy is in that book.
Oh, so as long as you do your research, you're going to be a great psychiatrist.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
That being said, the actors are volunteers. They are not going to get actual paying acting jobs.
Okay.
They are clearly saying one line that's been like scripted to them, because after they say their line, it hasn't been edited well enough. You can still see them reaching for their mouse to click stop.
Oh no. Okay.
It's very low budget, man. And going back to the beginning, you had mentioned why you were surprised that I picked it. My wife is very good at understanding what's wrong with people, and I thought this would be great. Her and I can just sit there and enjoy this game for an hour, laugh if it's funny, or do what we can do to feel like we're doing a psychiatrist's job. And then I played it by myself for about 10 minutes, and I said, no, this is going to be just me, just finishing the game for the podcast, because I said I would do a review.
Okay. So what happens? Like, what are you're picking dialogue options, I assume? Are you?
Yep. So you're introduced to the full motion actor's patient. They give a quick synopsis of what they are, what's wrong with them, and then you get prompted to ask preloaded questions. There's usually two to four options to pick from. A couple of them are usually the same question, just one's asked professionally and the other is asked really rudely. Are you addicted to any drugs is one question, and then another option is, are you a junkie?
Oh.
So
it's pretty common sense. You don't do you even need the manual?
You do when it comes to which drugs you want to select, because you want to make sure you're giving them the right drug.
Okay.
And that is your only treatment option, is either nothing or a drug.
That's weird. Is that how?
It's very simple. It is weird.
Okay.
I would say it's not tremendously realistic, but it's still a game. So, hey, I played it.
I mean, I'm not a doctor. Like,
Nope.
Clearly, I'm not a psychiatrist.
Me
I'm not
neither.
a psychologist. But like, I would like to assume that drugs would be the last option. But I don't know.
I would hope that they are, but in this, it's the only option. And when some of these folks show up and they're drug addicts, and you're going to give them more drugs, you just feel kind of dirty about it. But
yeah,
hey, at least it's not real.
How long is this game?
In its current form, it is about 45 minutes long.
Oh,
it's
that's
not
not long at all.
finished. It is not finished. And when the review gets published on it, you'll see that he's still asking for more volunteers to record more patient videos. There are many, many bugs. It's terribly buggy in its current form, and that actually made me sad, because even though it's low budget, it's even in its best form, I don't think it's going to be a very good game. There's still promise. It is a great concept. I love the idea of portraying a psychiatrist and helping full motion video people. It kind of gives you that personal connection. But in its current form, it is a little too broken to say anything terribly positive about it outside I love the concept, and this could be a pretty decent game.
Okay. Is it early access?
It's beta.
Beta. Okay,
yeah.
so it's still really early then.
Yes.
Okay. Well, thanks for checking that out, man. Psychiatrist Simulator 2. Like you, I was kind of intrigued by the concept, but it just didn't seem like something I personally wanted to play. But I appreciate you checking it out and letting us know.
For sure. And I'm also going to give kudos to the developer. It is one person. He is doing the best he can. Writing software is hard. So I'm going to tip my cap to him and say, hey, man, good effort. Hopefully you fix some of the bugs. This could be an okay game.
All right. Sounds good, man. Well, Mark, thanks again for stopping by. Hopefully we'll see you again soon or review something you like a little bit better.
Right on.
All right, we'll talk to you later.
Sure will.
All right, thank you, Mark. Do appreciate that. Want to remind everybody, if you could drop us a review on Apple Podcasts, wherever you listen to episodes, we would appreciate it. Also, our website is thegamingoutsider.com. You can find all of our episodes there and all of our written content as well, including Mark's review of 64. You heard him talk about that on the show earlier. Rel's review of the demo for Realm of Ink, Alyssa's review of Light in the Darkness, and Mark's review of Pixel Cross Story of Seasons. All are available on the website right now. We'd love it if you check those out. And let's now go into our From the Outside In topic. Every first of the month, we ask you, our community, to give us video game-related questions for us to answer on the show. And all of you delivered again this week, and we're going to answer each of them for our topic this week. One of my favorite things that we do around here, and it's so much fun. So I'm going to start off with Kyle Boggs. Kyle Boggs over on Facebook says, after COVID causing 1,000 delays for many AAA games, and most not being worth the wait, Skull and Bones, Gollum, Redfall, just the top of my head, does this generation feel like a bit like a failure, especially compared to previous generations? For me, at the moment, yes. There haven't been as many amazing original games as there have been on previous generations. It's a lot of delays, failures, and remakes. What do you guys think?
Well, I would counter at first and say there have been a lot of games that were worth the wait from the COVID delays. You know, many people thought of 2023 as one of the better years of gaming history, right? You know, and that's not for no reason. So I think a lot of games were worth the wait. However, if what you wanted from the wait was amazing original games, no, there's not a lot of those. It is a lot of remakes or sequels. You know, even Baldur's Gate 3, breakout game of last year, is the third game in a series, right?
Right.
So,
well, I mean, it's not like the stories are interconnected, right?
No, but it is an established IP of a sort.
Property,
and yes, I don't think it really mattered. I think that game might have been able to be called anything and probably have been just as successful. But to Kyle's point, you know, if what you're waiting for is huge original new IPs like we used to get, no, I don't think that is happening as often. Sure.
Alyssa?
I agree. We're not getting as many original games. There have been a lot of quality remakes, remasters, you know, sequels. They're not AAA, but a lot of amazing indie games have been coming out. So for me, I guess I haven't really thought about it until now, because I've been playing a lot of indie games, a lot of, you know, like you said, the sequels, remakes, all that. But yeah, we're not getting a lot of original titles, but we're getting some really good, what I mentioned previously, sequels, remakes, indie titles. And I guess that makes it up for it in my mind.
I mean, if you're looking for brand new IPs at the AAA level, sure, it's been less than years past, but to say disappointed, I can't get on board with being disappointed. I can't keep up with all the great games that I want to be playing. It's just there's just a plethora of things. I listen to podcasts where people talk about, man, there's just nothing out there that interests me. I don't think you like games if you're saying something like that. Like seriously, you need to go to stamp collecting or something. There is something out there.
Or maybe you need a break from games for a couple of years so you can rediscover the love or something.
Maybe
yeah,
that.
Sometimes you get in a slump and you gotta go away from something for a bit to appreciate it again.
And I've been there. I've gone a couple months where I just kind of took a breather. Not since doing this, I don't think, but
yeah.
It's just there's just something out there. I feel like for everybody. If you like platformers, if you like sports games, if you like RPGs, I mean, and even then, like everybody's got a backlog, right?
Right. Yeah.
Even if there wasn't anything, there's got to be some banger game that you did not play. I know with as much games as I play, I have not played everything. I haven't played Hogwarts Legacy. I didn't finish
haven't
Far
either.
Cry 6. I didn't finish Spider-Man 2. There's so many games that I just barely touched because there's just no time. If you've got that kind of time, man, more power to you. If you've played everything, that's awesome. But I can't.
Yeah, and if you want original ideas, yeah, you're not going to find a AAA, but AA and indie, like you were saying, is that there are new IPs and new ideas there. But whenever they come out, say Banisher's Ghost of New Eden, as a good looking game from a renowned studio, but did it? How's it doing out there? How many?
Yeah, but if you're missing that game because you're playing some other AAA game that's coming out at the same time, then you're enjoying games.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like,
no, of course.
I'm not knocking Kyle, by the way. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I'm kind of like curious about like this being disappointing.
If I can, if I may, Kyle, I can think of one way that this generation has felt like a failure to me, and that is in it feeling like a generation. Because this PS5, Xbox Series era, the majority of games still come out of PS4 or Xbox One.
Right.
That's true. Yeah.
And even the PS5 exclusives we do get, like FF7 Rebirth or even Spider-Man 2, they don't really look or feel like something that couldn't have been done on PS4.
Right.
And I'm sure before somebody jumps in here, I'm sure there are things under the hood that makes them, PS5 only or whatever, but it is harder to see that. And I know, like, Spider-Man 2 can load any part of the city in an instant, right? You wouldn't be able to do that on PS4. But to me, the removal of loading screens is not enough of a generational leap to make me feel like, yes, we have progressed from the 4 to the 5.
Right. Which is also funny because remember last week we talked about how Xbox was saying that they were going to have their biggest generational leap yet with their next hardware. I'm like, shut up. Like, we don't need another console generation.
No. I mean, people are just now like starting to get PS5s.
Right. And I feel like I don't need my games to look that much better. Like, I don't know.
Well, actually, I mean, PS5 to PS4, more people own a PS5 now than they did PS4s at this part of its life. So people have PS5s galore, actually. But to their list, there is this narrative that like somehow PS5s are, hard to get still somehow. But
I wonder if those people that paid like $1,500, $2,000 for the PS5s are like kicking themselves, or if they're I made a good decision.
I hope they feel bad.
Well, they're still impossible to get here. I look at Walmart just for fun to see, and they're always it's nothing there.
Yeah, which is what makes it crazy that it's selling better than the PS4 did at this point. Especially because, like I just said, there's nothing on PS5 really. Like, I don't know what until Spider-Man 2 came out, what would you have bought a PS5 for? Just a better graphics.
Demon's Souls?
Yeah, a PS3 game?
Yeah.
Well, they originally said the Horizon sequel, which I cannot remember the name right now.
Forbidden West.
Forbidden West was supposed to be a PS5 exclusive, but then later they tacked on that it would also be coming to PS4.
Right. God of War Ragnarok was a PS4. So really, it's just a prettier version of a PS4 game is what you would have bought it for before. Right. And I'm not judging anybody. I bought one, And I think I believe the first game I played was Demon's Souls, a game I had already beaten on PS3.
Yeah.
Oh, I played Astro's Playroom, the one that came free with the console.
Dude, there you go. That game actually does feel that game, weirdly enough, does feel like a generational leap forward because of the way you use the controller and everything.
Yeah.
It actually felt like I was
cute too.
Sure, it was cute. But it felt like I was doing something new with my console that I couldn't do before.
Did it have like you could run your thumb along the pad for a zipper?
Yes,
or something like
and
that.
It felt like a zipper, dude. It was crazy.
It did feel like a zipper.
Yeah.
It was crazy.
It was pretty magical. But that's the only way that I think of this generation as a failure. But I mean,
I think it's a fair point because I feel almost bad that I bought the new consoles. Although if I were to go back and play PS4 or Xbox One right now, I would probably notice it. Because like you said, the loading times and things like that, and I would be happy that I am here, but I could have saved a bunch of money and just played on the previous. Because I mean, even the UI is exactly the same, at least on Xbox. So,
yeah, it's similar on PS5, although shutting down the
Kyle,
console is still annoying.
Thanks for the question, Kyle. Let's go to the next one, Zach.
Sure thing. Brandon Smith writes in and asks, we know that you guys are gamers. I want to know, what are some of your non-gaming related hobbies or passions? Is there anything you're particularly skilled at?
Oh, man.
The floodgates are open for Alyssa.
Oh, go ahead, Alyssa.
Oh boy.
Okay, I've got a lot of passions. I'm not very talented at anything. I wasn't blessed with the gift of talent. I guess I'm a decent writer. That's it. Everything else I'm not good at. But I do have a lot of interests. Which most people on the podcast know by now. I like anime. Really into K-dramas and K-pop, specifically Stray Kids, right now. But also I'm really just into film, the world of cinema. I love to read novels, manga, manhwa. Really into reading. I used to be really into TV watching, but right now it's pretty much just K-dramas because I've kind of become disillusioned with Western television. So, I mean, all of my special interests are in the entertainment realm.
Me introducing you to Brandy, a mutual friend of ours now, is not helping that, by the way.
I mean, we've only talked once, though.
I know, but here's the thing is I said, hey, I think Alyssa and this girl at my work named Brandy, who also loves K-dramas like Alyssa does, I said, these two should be friends. So I asked them both if it was okay if I could start a chat and introduce them, and they both said yes. I was getting alerts for the next 2 hours.
Yeah, I felt bad about that. I'm like, Scott's getting every one of these notifications.
It was kind of nuts. No, it was funny because I had my watch on, so I kept looking up. No, it's just they're still talking about anime, or not anime, K-dramas, and I had no idea anything they were saying. So I was just, I'm not saying this, to be mean. I'm not going to read everything because I don't know anything about it. So
I didn't expect you to.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm also really into learning Japanese and Korean. Having a lot of fun with that. So that's pretty much all my passions and stuff, entertainment related.
Okay, Zach?
Particularly skilled at. Nothing PG-13, know what I'm talking about?
Oh my goodness.
I'm kidding. Hobbies, passions, I don't know. I hike a lot, I guess. Which is helpful to be in Oregon. I don't know if I feel particularly passionate about it. I love comic books, I guess. I don't know, man. Not a lot. I guess it is mostly a video games guy. Of course, I watch TVs and movies, but who doesn't, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
A couple years ago, I reinvigorated my passion for westerns. I watch a western almost every week now, so that's pretty cool. That's been a life well lived there. But
Zach's got westerns. I've got K-dramas.
Yes, absolutely.
You gotta get something, Scott.
Reruns of Friends.
There you go.
Or music. New music releases.
That's true. Scott's our music guy.
Oh, man.
But pretty skilled at. Not much. I feel like whenever I do go play darts or axe throwing or something that is accuracy related, I feel like I am surprisingly good at that.
Oh, I'm good at air hockey.
That's about it.
Oh,
I love air hockey. Fight me.
I love playing pool, but not a lot of opportunities to play.
I used to play pool once a week with my brother, and I was getting pretty good, but I could never get really good, where I could go throw a quarter down on the table and play with somebody, kind of.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I never felt confident in my skills, but I was more of a darts player. Actually, we had a company gathering right before Christmas, and everybody played darts, and I just cleaned up. That's a skill that I feel like I haven't lost. I watching other people throw, and it just goes. Don't even hit the board and stuff like that.
What average score in bowling do you need to get before you're considered good at it?
I don't know.
I haven't bowled in forever.
I'd say probably at least over 200. Somewhere over 200, 250 maybe.
Yeah, then I'm definitely not good. But I'm better than most people I know at bowling.
Yeah.
So that's something. But I always feel like a sham compared to my little brother. Shout out to Brandon. Because he's bowled a few 300 games in his life.
Oh wow!
He's so good at bowling that even if I did well, I would be like, well, I'm not as good as him, But he's like an expert at bowling.
I will say, and I'm not trying to toot my own horn, but I feel like I'm a really good DJ, for specifically elementary schools and weddings, because. I know people hear DJ and they just assume it's a dude that sits behind a table and spins music, which is part of the job. But I get into it, man. Especially if I have a stage that I'm on, like at a school, I get into it and get the kids into it, and I'm hopping around, jumping around. And I feel like a rock star, and
that's a good skill, man.
It is.
Actually, one of my buddies, his daughter attended the elementary school that I DJ'd a couple weekends ago, and he had never seen me DJ before. And he actually texted me afterwards. He's like, "Dude, you need to not quit doing that." He's like, "You're really good at it." And I was like, "Man, you're making me think about it." And it's so much fun. I don't want to do high schools, although high schools are, there's no interaction with the kids as long as you play the right music. There is something pretty powerful about playing in front of 1,000 kids, and you press a button and they just explode in reaction. I didn't do anything. You know what I mean? Like I'm not playing.
You pushed the button.
I know, but it's not my music.
You read the energy in the room, Scott.
Yeah, but it's not like it's the closest I'm ever going to get to being like a rock star. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's actually the reason I became an elementary teacher, largely one of the reasons I became an elementary teacher, is my first elementary school dance I ever did, because I was a DJ before I was a teacher, is I did an elementary school up in McChesney Park or Rockton, and never done it. I had no idea what to do, and I got into it, and I was tearing down my equipment, and all of a sudden the kids started lining up by my table, wanting to hug me. They came up, and like all these kids just thought I'm like, this is where I need to be. This is what I need to do. Is I need to be working with kids and making their day and making memories and stuff. So it was really cool. So that I do that. I also do some. I feel like I'm pretty good with my hands in terms of working craft.
I knew Zach was going to say something.
If you remember back in the COVID days, I sat in my basement here making masks. My sister-in-law taught me how to sew, and I learned how to use a Cricut, and I was making T-shirts and masks and all that kind of stuff. I feel like I'm pretty adept at doing that. I also, I can't sit still in the summer. I'm always trying to keep myself busy with work.
Despite every week leading up to the summer, you're like, all I'm going to do is sit still this summer.
Yeah, gonna try this year.
Sure, yeah. I've never heard that before.
We believe you, Scott.
I feel like I'm pretty. I know where your mind is going to go with this, but I spent a lot of time splitting firewood in the summer. I'm pretty good with a chainsaw now, and
sounds really thunky.
Yes. I don't know. I don't feel like I'm really talented. I used to be in a band. I was a drummer for a band called Avex. And then I sang for a band called Bad Decisions. We only played like twice out of my garage, but it was super fun. So yeah, I'm like average Joe at everything. I don't excel at anything. I'm just kind of like
a jack of all trades, master of none.
Yeah, pretty much. So
I don't know, man. I think you're not giving yourself enough credit somewhere. I guess we can confidently say none of us are narcissists.
Yeah,
because we all said we're not talented.
Yeah. Although I think of two things. I am pretty good at chess, and I like being good at chess. And then learned only a few months ago that I'm actually pretty good at cooking.
Oh,
okay. Which I assume most people are if they just allow themselves to be.
Mm-hmm.
But I have so far, and I feel very good about myself that I have not followed a recipe for anything that I've made, and things have turned out pretty deliciously.
Oh yeah,
and
that's awesome.
I think that's pretty cool.
There's one. You want to hear a story where I did mess something up because I'm an idiot?
Sure. Well, you cook a lot too, right, Scott?
I do.
Would you say that you're particularly skilled at it?
Yeah, I mean, but I'm also a strict recipe follower, like, because I don't have faith in myself that I'm gonna like alter something and make it better.
Mm.
You know what I mean?
I don't have faith in myself. I just don't have faith in other people.
Well, I have more faith in someone else that made this particular recipe than I do me experimenting. But I was making a casserole that requires you to make a roux first, and I'm sitting here mixing this, and you're supposed to put like 3 tablespoons of flour. So I'm sprinkling this in here, and it will not thicken. It just will not thicken no matter how much flour I put in. So I'm putting in more tablespoons. It just will not thicken. Finally, I'm like, well, I guess I'm just going to put it on. So I put it over this casserole and put it in the oven. And I'm serving it. My wife and I are eating it. And I'm like, this doesn't taste right. It tastes incredibly sweet. I grabbed
sugar.
I grabbed powdered sugar instead of flour, and we had to throw the entire thing out because it was not edible. It was so gross. But
Dude,
so now,
awesome.
now we have labels on the containers. One says flour and one says powdered sugar because I will never live that down. My wife will not let me live that down.
No, you guys are going to be 80 years old. She's going to be bringing that one up.
Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much. All right, next question, Alyssa.
Okay. Brian Lewis asks, what PS1 game would you pick to get a full AAA remake of? Mine would be Metal Gear Solid.
Siphon Filter, because I never got to play those.
I always loved playing that game just to use the flamethrower on people. I couldn't think of the word for the weapon. I love I love setting people on fire in that game. Oh, and the taser.
Man, you're making me want to play this game. I missed that whole series. Totally missed that series.
Yeah.
I would like a remake of Metal Gear Solid, though. They did one on GameCube, right?
Right.
But I would like a more modern one, like with the. Oh man, I feel like that game was so long, and I looked it up, and it's only like 12 or 15 hours, something like that. It's kind of crazy to me.
When you're younger, it feels like a century.
I know, right?
Well, and also, if you were stuck, you would just have to experiment back then, right? You couldn't Google it.
Right. Yeah, that's a good point. A really good point.
It helps.
What about you, Zack?
I want to say Hairset Eve.
Oh, that's a good
really
one
great.
too.
Especially if they kept the combat the same, where it's a turn-based survival horror type thing. That would be awesome.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think either that or Vagrant Story would be really good too. Just that game. The game has an incredible story, but has some combat that is difficult to get into. I think they could fine tune that and make it really sing the way it should. It's a really good story. Or maybe Xenogears, and then they could actually finish the second disc this time.
I have never got. I'm not familiar with what you're talking about. They didn't finish the game.
Oh yeah. So it's standard JRPG for disc 1, and then you get to disc 2, and they were running out of time. So it is mostly just a character telling you what would be happening at this part of the story.
Seriously?
Oh, no.
And then it'll every now and then let you like jump in to fight a boss or something, but otherwise it is mostly just like it's basically like a book on screen almost.
Wow.
Yeah. Because they were running out of time and money, and Squaresoft, I guess, was like either, hey, you can just cut this off at disc 1, it could be a cliffhanger, and if it sells well, you can finish the story then. Or if you guys want, you can like shoehorn in a quick fix into disc 2 to wrap your story up in one go. And they made the gamble that it probably wouldn't do well enough to get a sequel anyway, so they'd rather just put most of the story that they could out there. And
that's awful. I did not know that.
Yeah. Well, they were right. It did not sell well enough for a sequel.
Well, do you think maybe that's why?
Well, how many people do you think got to the second discs of games they bought?
I don't know.
Yeah, probably not a lot.
You can look at trophies and achievements of modern games and see that most people, barely get halfway through a game, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So,
unless it's Spider-Man.
Sure, yeah, unless it's Spider-Man. Yeah, it's true.
You know what? One we should mention, we already talked about it, but Twisted Metal 2. Wouldn't you love to see that with a fresh coat of paint on it and modern controls?
Like just Twisted Metal 2?
Just Twisted Metal 2. Like the Eiffel Tower blowing up and fighting Minion in the lava. Wouldn't that be freaking cool?
That would be cool, yeah.
I would take that in a
way
heartbeat.
into that, absolutely.
Yeah. even make it, even if you only made it look like, I'm saying this with rose-colored glasses because I remember Twisted Metal Black looking really cool, but I'm sure that looks very dated by today's standards. So, but man, I would love to see that. All right, next question.
Oh, I didn't get to answer.
I'm sorry. I thought you said you were responding to me saying Siphon Filter.
Dino Crisis.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Sure. Mm-hmm. That's a good one.
Yeah, I want to play that again, but like modern day standards.
Yeah, those tank controls.
Yeah.
I don't know if I could go back and play the original, even Resident Evil games at this point.
Dude,
I loved Dino Crisis as a kid, but I think today I need the updated controls.
Did you like cowards? Cowards, you are.
Yeah, dude.
Learn to turn before you walk. It's so natural.
That's not how we do it in.
No, I know it's not.
Do you think you like Dino Crisis so much because of the dinosaur stuff in Tomb Raider?
Well, I had a way to cheat with the T-Rex in Tomb Raider,
Oh yeah, you wait by the entrance or whatever.
Well, there's like a crack in the wall on the right hand side of the screen, and you can go into the crack. The T-Rex couldn't get you, so you could just shoot him from there.
Oh,
riveting!
That's what I did
gameplay.
every single time. Which I don't know if that's in the remaster.
My understanding is it is. Yes.
Oh God.
Yeah, so you could cheat your way through that T-Rex all over again.
But yeah, that was why I liked that fight, because I was always like, "Heh, you can't get me." But no, I actually like Dino Crisis just because back then it was a game that was scary enough for me to enjoy it, but not enough to give me nightmares. Because I was a scaredy cat back then. You never, like, when you first played it, you never knew when a dinosaur was going to show up. And I just like going around this awesome chick, like, doing stuff.
She have red hair?
Yeah. Regina.
Yeah, I can remember her name. But yeah.
Eventually, they're going to run out of Resident Evil games to remake.
Yeah, right.
They'll just have no choice but to remake Dino Crisis.
Well, they're gonna run out of quality Resident Evil games to remake.
Well,
right?
they'll remake the bad ones.
You think they'll remake 6?
Yes. Oh yeah.
I don't know, man. I don't know if they will.
So
I gotta go back and finish 4, man.
With the way we get more and more remakes every year, you don't think that the trend will continue?
I don't think those will sell as well. I don't think the Resident Evil name is going to carry enough to sell a remake of those games. I really don't.
I guess we'll find out.
Yeah.
We will inevitably find out. Yeah, I'm sure.
I mean, Chris Sessions asks, with the current trend of redos, remakes, do-overs, remasters, etc. over the past year or two, why does a company choose a certain game series over another? This kind of goes well into what we're just talking about. Do they look back at sales and see what sold the best in the past? Company employee preference? Why did Link's Awakening get a remake and say not the Minish Cap? Finally, what's that one game you want remade that's not Code Veronica? Mine would be the first Zelda and or Link to the Past in the same style as Link's Awakening. Keep up the great work with the podcast. Thank you, Chris. What do you guys think? What do they base their decision on for which games to remake?
I think for most studios, it is a sales thing or a historical importance thing.
Mm-hmm.
But like Square Enix, I have no idea what the hell goes in there. Just like, why are you like Star? Here's a Star Ocean remaster. Here's a Dragon Quest III remaster, or here's Live Alive, an obscure SNES JRPG that never came out of. It's just. So to me, for Square Enix, it seems like it must be employee preference. Maybe
I think you're right.
I really feel like it's like the directions of these games going like, hey, could I please remake this game or remaster it? And they're so weird over there too. Like Crisis Core getting there, they called it a remaster, but it's got like new voice casts and character models. So it's like, well, it's in a kind of a remake then. You know what I mean? Like,
it would be.
They're so weird over there. But for most studios, I assume it is. There's probably a lot of internal analytics we don't get to see that go into it.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm sure most of it is like the Dead Space remake is like, maybe this is a better time for Dead Space to shine. So let's remake that. People keep talking about this series. Let's see if there's really an audience there. Knock it out. Turns out there really wasn't that big of an audience.
I mean, to this question, like, why did Link's Awakening get a remake? I think that one probably was chosen because I feel like the graphic style that they chose for that game fits that game better than any of the others.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I don't think you could have made like the original Zelda or even Link's Awakening in that style. There's just something about.
I mean, Link to the Past.
Yeah, what did I say?
Link's Awakening.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, Link to the Past is what I meant to say. I don't know. It just with it being where that story goes, and I don't know, Koholint. Am I pronouncing that right? Koholint.
No, you're right. That art style works well for that game.
Mm-hmm. But
the reason Minish Cap probably won't get a remake is because Capcom made it. So I assume you probably have to give them. You think they'd have to give them a new development fee or something?
Probably. I mean, I don't know. It's such an underrated Zelda game too. It's so good.
Oh yeah, it's great. Of course. Yeah. As our Oracle of Seasons and Age is also made by Capcom.
Yeah.
Those are great.
2 that I've never finished. Which is weird because isn't it the same like art style as the original Link's Awakening? Like it's the exact same like character models and enemy models and bush models.
That's so sweet, bush models.
Yeah.
Well, I think those are Game Boy Color games, right? Link's Awakening was a Game Boy game.
Well, yeah, I mean, those are...
No, so I'm saying that it would be a little different. Well, I guess they did the Link's Awakening remake on Game Boy Color.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe you're right. Either way, is you should play them, yes.
So what would be that one game you want remade that's not Code Veronica? Oh, wait, Alyssa, did you answer?
I mean, pretty much have the same opinions as you guys do, so.
Okay. So what game would you like remade that's not Code Veronica? We must talk about that a lot.
Well, yeah. I want it.
When CB's here, he always talks about one Code Veronica.
Well, and it made more sense than to remake 4.
Although Veronica. 4 would have sold better, probably.
Well, it did so. Yeah. Yes, I am sure the remake of 4 will sell better than the remake of Code Veronica. However, Code Veronica is a great game that is stranded on Dreamcast and PS2. Well, I guess it is digital storefronts now, but there's important story there. That would be nice to see remade and fleshed out with the more remake-oriented continuity.
Mm-hmm. You got one, Alyssa?
I just really want Chrono Trigger because I never got to play it, and I've heard the Steam version's terrible. I don't know where my 3DS went, so I can't even play that version. So I'm like, I just want Chrono Trigger.
They really do need to do a 2D HD for that one.
Yeah, like what they did with, or to make it look like Octopath.
Yes,
mm-hmm.
I think that'd be perfect.
Yes, game is great,
yeah.
And it's just not overly difficult either. Like, I mean, there's some tough boss battles and stuff, but I don't feel like you had to grind in that game. I don't remember ever grinding in Chrono Trigger.
Yeah, I would agree with that. That's true.
So that was felt good. Boy,
what about you?Got a remake you want?
I mean, there's so many. I'm with him. I would love to see Link to the Past, although we kind of got one with what was the
Link Between Worlds? That was a sequel, though.
It was a sequel, but it looked very much like it was enough of a palate cleanser, and I've played that game so many times. I don't know if I actually want that because, like, I mean, I would have to play it, right?
Right.
But I don't think I've played any other game more times than I have that game.
What if they remade it in like a 3D, more Twilight Princess sort of style?
Oh my goodness, I don't even know how you do that. I guess there were kind of like higher levels, right?
Right, you could do that. You have to do that very carefully,
Oh man, I mean, that'd be all over that.
You'd have to check it out, right?
I would have to, absolutely have to. I'm gonna say oh god, what's that game from Xbox 360 with Garcia Hotspur?
Shadows of the Damned.
Shadows of the Damned needs to get a remake. I would love to see that.
Are they doing a remake or a remaster?
Are they?
Oh, I don't know.
I thought they announced it.
Oh, I think you're right. Yeah.
Right. You're right. I forgot.
Yeah.
So yeah, bring that. Boy, it's hard because I feel like Nintendo remakes everything I want them to remake anyway.
They read your mind, Scott.
Just there's nothing else that needs to be remade on the Nintendo side. And we talked about PS1. I would love to see Twisted Metal 2. Get another overhaul. Mostly it's going to be games that I never got a chance to play that I don't want to play on the original hardware now because, the 32-bit era did not age as gracefully, and the 64-bit era did not age as gracefully as the Super Nintendo and regular Nintendo. So like Brave Fencer Musashi is a game I never got to play that one. I never really played the Fatal Frame games.
I'd love to get more of those. I played the first one and loved it.
Or Clock Tower. That cover art for Clock Tower just was like, I gotta play this game, and I never got around to doing it. So yeah, mostly games that I just never got around to playing when I was younger. The Bouncer, I don't know why that one sticks out in my head. I don't even know what that one's about, but the cover looks cool. Guy looked like Squall from Final Fantasy VIII a little bit.
Yeah, those Tetsuya Nomura character designs.
Yeah.
So. Yeah. Well, I think for me, I would take a remaster of Gun just so I could play it on modern consoles.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
Why didn't I think of that answer? That game. You don't even need to do much to that game. That game played great.
Yeah, you would just need to touch up the graphics a little bit. That's why I'm like, just a remaster. I think that's all you need to do for that one.
Mm-hmm.
Probably re-sign all the celebrity voice actors, I guess.
Who made that? Is that Neversoft?
It was Neversoft, yeah.
Yeah. Do they exist? Who owns the rights to Gun?
I don't think Neversoft does exist, but I guess Xbox would own the rights to Gun now.
Oh, that needs to happen.
That was an Activision property.
I mean, that was on our original Xbox, so that could have been a
Right.
backwards compatible. That needs to happen.
It was on Xbox, yeah, and 360. It was on both.
Yes, because I played through it. Oh, no, I didn't play through that one twice. I did get all the achievements, though, on Xbox 360.
Phil, if you're listening, get going. And full-blown remake, I would love to see, I talk about it often, Breakdown on the original Xbox needs a full remake. It is a game that it is stranded, but it is so unique and has such an interesting sci-fi story, time travel involved, and it has very unique first-person melee combat and a complete dedication to the first person's perspective. It never leaves the first person perspective no matter what you're doing. And everything is highly detailed and animated, but it needs a remake. It needs another chance to shine. I think we would really dig it nowadays, especially the way you kind of get superpowers over the course of the game. I think people would like that stuff.
Very cool. You want to take the next question?
Sure, jumping over to Discord, Furious74 asks, have you guys heard of disc rot? If so, how many of you collectors are concerned about your collections? We had a response from CB, because even though he couldn't be here, he is an expert. So we had to ask what he had to say. And he said, disc rot is a breakdown of the glue or metals inside of a disc that eventually leads to the disc no longer being able to be usable. While most people don't realize this, physical media, including CDs and DVDs and Blu-rays, do have a shelf life. It's estimated to be anywhere between 25 to 50 years, depending on conditions and how they're stored. But once disc rot sets in, there's really no way of saving the disc. Honestly, it could be an entire subject going into how a different form of physical media formats break down and the greater need for game preservation.
You know what doesn't break down?
Digital.
Yeah.
Well, you know what can disappear in an instant even if you paid money for it?
Digital.
Digital.
So they both have about the same shelf life.
Yeah.
Well, I think 25 to 50 years is a lot longer than the Deadpool game was alive on the marketplace.
Yeah, because everybody really wanted the Deadpool game. That's a banger.
That's not what matters. What matters is whether or not you could have it. Yes, no, I've heard of disc rot, but I don't really have any opinions or worry about it because it hasn't happened to me. Obviously, it is inevitable that it will, I'm sure. But I try not to worry about things that are outside of my control. I wonder,
can you copy games? Like, back in the day when we were younger, we'd rip a CD, put it on our hard drive, and then rip it, or then burn it to a disc. Is there a way to do that? With games? Because I don't even. You can't go buy a stack of game discs. You know what I mean?
Right. There's got to be some way to do it, right? Because how else would people get all the pirated copies online? Well, I guess
just all digital. People are emulating and playing it on their computer.
Yeah, no, but I'm wondering about like a brand new release. Like Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. Can you pirate that game right now? Even though it just came out on PS5 digital and physical.
I have no idea. I've never been involved in doing it. I don't know how the process works.
I don't know. Neither do I. But I'm sure it's good.
Yeah.
What about you guys? You got any fears of disc rot?
I mean, I've got a huge collection of Blu-rays and DVDs. I have not noticed disc rot on anything I have. There could be one I haven't looked at in a while that has it. Again, not a huge concern for me at the moment. I know it's gonna happen, but we keep getting more ways to consume media because now we have 4K discs. So there's just continuous ways, like, if that were to happen, I could probably get another copy of a movie if I really wanted it. Or a game or CD, anything of that nature. I'm sure if I find out I have one that's got disc rot, I'll temporarily be like, oh my god, this is the worst thing in the world. But then I'll be like, okay, I'll just get another copy if possible.
If it's something that you like that much.
Yeah,
right.
if it's something I just don't care that much about anymore, I'll be like, you know what, okay, I have my time with it. Bye-bye.
I guess I just don't, I'm so curious about how long it takes, because, I've got PS1 games, as do many people, and I feel like I just haven't heard of it being some kind of widespread concern.
You're going to be looking when you get out this year.
Right, those have got to be 25, 30 years old, so.
Yeah. I feel like by the time anything like that affects me, I'm not going to be caring at that point. I just, but CB makes a good point, like game preservation. There's got to be some way to preserve games, and I feel like there's going to be an answer that we just haven't come up with yet, whether that be digitally or whether it be able to copy games physically. But again, if you're a collector, you want the original stuff. You know what I mean? You're not going to want a collection. Like, remember when we had those CD holders in our cars, the zippers, and like you could put like 4 CDs to a page.
I remember those. I never used one because even as a kid, I was very, very particular about how my discs were stored.
Oh yeah,
I was the annoying kid.
Well, I mean, you couldn't carry around a stack of CD jewel cases in your car. At least I didn't.
I had them in my parents' car. I had a whole thing in the glove compartment just so I could get my CD out and play in the car.
Nice. But yeah, it's something to consider, but it makes me worry about, what about cartridge rot? Because that's where I'm going to get concerned. You know what I mean? Like, because if cartridge rot is a thing, I'm going to have to offload my collection sometime before I get too old. Because I don't want to be sitting on that investment and it be worthless because of stuff rotting. But
right.
All right. I think who's up? Alyssa, are you up?
Yep. Do you want me to read these individually or just say them all at once and then?
We'll do one at a time.
Okay, Mark Szymanski asks, Alyssa, what's an anime film that you wish everybody would watch? Several come to mind, but you said one. So, I'm going to say my favorite, which is a cop-out. But House Moving Castle, especially if you've never watched a Studio Ghibli anime film.
That's my favorite.
House Moving Castle?
No, I'm serious. That's my favorite.
Okay, I thought you were trying to butter up to me.
No, I watched Princess Mononoke and I thought that was pretty good.
Yeah.
But until House Moving Castle, I wasn't sold on the whole thing, and that one was really good.
It's got something for everyone. It's got humor. It's got fantasy. It's got some emotional moments. It's got some romance. I mean, and the whole family can watch it. Pretty much. I mean, little kids might get scared by some of the imagery, but I mean, older kids and up, whole family can watch it. It's great. The English dub is amazing. Christian Bale is Hal. Perfection.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, he is the voice of Hal Pendragon. And Josh Hutcherson was the voice of the little boy, which I cannot remember his name. I've seen that movie so many times, and I just cannot remember his name.
I was going to say he had to have been really young.
Yeah, Billy Crystal was Calcifer, the flame.
Oh wow!
And then I believe it was Emily Mortimer that was the voice of Sophie.
Emily Mortimer. Is that the girl from? I don't know. What do I know her from?
She's a British actress, so she's been in a lot of. I can't think of anything off the top of my head, but I can picture her.
Okay.
But I mean, the voice cast is outstanding if you watch the English dub. But yeah, that's my favorite Studio Ghibli film, and I think one that everyone would be safe to watch, and I think everyone would enjoy it because there's something in there for everyone.
Oh, Emily Mortimer, I know her from Newsroom. That's where I know her from.
I've never watched that show, but I've heard it's great.
Gotta watch Newsroom. It's so good. I don't like politics, and that movie or that show is great. There's a lot of other stuff going on besides politics, but
there's a great speech about America in that show I watch every few months.
Yep. Just watch the opening 10 minutes of that show, and if you're not sold after that, then you won't be.
Okay.
I'm not gonna say it peaks at that point, but
it peaks pretty early on.
Yeah.
Okay, Zack, what's a comic that you wish everybody would read?
Sure, I'll give you two answers. One, the superhero answer would be Green Lantern Rebirth, which is the first storyline of Jeff Johns' run with art by Ethan Van Sciver. This is a story that kicks off the greatest run in comic books history, which is Jeff Johns on Green Lantern. And it's a good starting point because it of course focuses on Hal Jordan a lot and him kind of coming back from being possessed by an evil cosmic entity and killing a bunch of people. But it is an easy transition point if you're not familiar to Green Lantern because it teaches you a lot about it, and it has a lot of other DC characters in the storyline too. Like Batman and Green Arrow play a pretty big role in the story. So you get to learn a lot in a very compelling way. And the last page of each comic will make you want to read the next issue immediately.
Nice.
And of course, it's all collected and readily accessible. But in another comic, more indie comic, would be Grendel, which is a comic book I discovered a couple years ago and fell absolutely in love with. It's about talks hard to describe because it is like about a guy who, he kind of dresses up, with a mask and a weapon and stuff, but he's really more of a crime lord named Hunter Rose. And it is a story from the villain's perspective. He is definitely the bad guy and kind of controls most of the crime on the eastern seaboard of America, essentially. And the first story arc with him is kind of a biography of his life, which is very unusual comic book storytelling because it's kind of grandiose and it really covers his entire life. And it's from the perspective of a journalist doing research about him. So you never really get inside of his head. So he's sort of this mythic figure to even you, the reader, in kind of an interesting way. And if you buy the collections that Dark Horse put out of Grendel, you get a lot of short stories with them too. And they're all awesome because they're all these, kind of clever short stories, right? Like you can think of almost Sherlock Holmes where he gets in, you get the evidence, solve the crime or whatever. But you think about this from a criminal mastermind's perspective. So he'll come in and like set up a way for a guy to take the fall for a murder or something like that. And it happens in only a few pages. It's really compelling stuff. It is incredibly dark though. So you're going to have to be okay with that. But Grendel is a huge recommendation for me. And you can get, Dark Horse did these softcover omnibuses, which is like hundreds of pages of comics for only $30. It's a hell of a deal.
Nice. You're making me want to get into comics, man. Every time you talk about them, I'm like, I know I would like this.
Yeah, Grendel sounds really interesting to me.
I think you guys would both dig Grendel. For sure.
I have to go on Amazon and look it up.
Yeah.
I just need to subscribe to one of those digital ones where you can just like read it on your phone or whatever.
Yeah.
Okay. Scott, which of your podcasts came first? Also, which non-desert island game do you wish everybody would play?
Oh boy, it's been a while since it's been the history, but the first podcast I ever did was the Official Thread podcast. It was a video game podcast. I did it right in this room, right here with Chris Owens and Mike Card, some friends of mine. It was called the Official Thread because I was on Rotten Tomatoes in their forums, and we always had official threads for, like if it were now, it'd be like, here's the official thread of Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, and that's where everybody would talk about that game. So I thought it would be cool to do the Official Thread podcast. It didn't last long. Started the Hollywood Outsider with Aaron, and then eventually started the Gaming Outsider as a spin-off of that because I liked games better than movies. And then a few years later, Wayne asked me to join him over on the Packers Fan podcast. So I'm just doing that one and this one now. So that's it. As far as non-desert island game, I wish everyone would play Astalon: Tears of the Earth. I wish more people would play that game.
Okay.
That game is so good. I'm close to wanting to do it again. I actually played through that game twice. I got it on Switch, played through the entire thing, and then it came out on Xbox, and I said, I'm going to play this again and get the achievements, and I did. It's very difficult at the beginning. And I nearly gave up because I was like, this is just too tough, and I didn't get it. But there is some fun surprises, kind of like, what was the game we were talking about recently Lost Crown, where you just discover a hole in the wall and it like uncovers like a third of the map or whatever. Astalon did that, and it was just so good, and I really enjoyed that game. So that's my answer. I think I'm up. Tim Paulin said, have you ever tried making a recipe that you saw or had to prepare in a game? I recently made steak with thyme because it's a recipe in Red Dead Redemption 2. I don't think I've ever done it for a game, but I've done it for movies in the past. I just can't think of a specific example. How about you guys?
I don't cook just because it makes me very anxious.
Okay.
So no, I have not.
Zack?
I can't say I have from a game. Tim, to Tim's point, I have been, because you can also make steak with a mint in Red Dead Redemption 2, and I've thought about what it would be like to add mint to steak. It just seems weird.
Yeah.
And yet intriguing. So I may try that at some point. That's the only time I've really felt compelled to maybe try. It also made me want to make a stew, but stews are pretty easy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that wasn't too tricky to pull off. So I guess technically I did make a stew because of Red Dead, just because stews you can you get a fresh bowl of stew every morning in the game if you want. I do really want to make Green Arrow's chili there is a consistent recipe they've put in a lot of Green Arrow comics ever since the 80s.
Yeah.
It's the same recipe. So like it really is like it's Oliver Queen's chili. It's supposed to be spicy as hell. I really want to try that out at some point.
Okay. I've found myself watching movies and seeing someone eat something, and then I want to go make it for myself, but I don't feel like I see a whole lot of recipes, and if their recipes are not specific enough for me, I want to make that mistake from Legend of Zelda, where it's like digital pixelated. Remember that?
Yeah, where it's so bad that it has to get mosaiced out.
It's vulgar. It's so bad. But I'm sorry I don't have a better answer for you, Tim. It's a really great question. I just I don't think I ever have. I think that happens more with movies, but not with games. I think because the stuff in games never looks as good as they do in movies.
True, yeah.
Well, there was one that they looked pretty good.
A lot of the food in Final Fantasy 15 looked pretty good.
I was gonna say it was one of the Final Fantasies, and I couldn't remember which one it was.
Yeah.
Like the graphics on the food look better than anything else in the game.
Right. Yeah. And wasn't there like a woman's voice that would like talk about it while she served it or something too? And it felt like a cooking show for a minute.
It felt like definitely.
Zach, you're up.
Daniel Gilmore writes in and asks, can you describe a video game character whose story or experience matched yours at one point in your life? For example, in Celeste, Madeline is on a quest to overcome anxiety and depression by climbing a mountain.
Yes, right now, that's me.
You are Celeste?
I'm not depressed, but very much like I need to breathe. I need to stop and take a break every once in a while. Trying to think of other ones though. You guys?
I mean, for me, again, I identify with Madeline from Celeste. I did play that game. It was hard, but worth it. Because I do battle with anxiety and depression, but it's really hard to find game characters that, are similar to me, because they just don't make video game characters who are autistic or any other thing that I am. So it's very hard for me to identify with a lot of the game characters. So
yeah,
I would say Madeline from Celeste is the closest.
Okay. Zach?
Man, I was really racking my brain. I can't really think of any. I'm sure that they happened, right? It feels like it would be impossible that it didn't happen.
Right. And I worry, like, if I say I don't have one, I don't mean that to sound like, oh, I'm just so unique. There's never been a character like me. That's not, you know what I mean? I'm not saying that at all. I feel like with video game characters, they're more wish fulfillments than actual relating to them.
Yeah, more like an escape, in a way.
And you see certain things with certain characters that really speak to you. Oh boy, I don't know. It feels Dory. I don't know. It feels like complimentary to try to compare myself to a cool video game character. But the way that John Marston just wants to escape a lifetime of bad decisions and try to have a simple life to him and his family, like I can identify with that, because I was put in a lot of positions growing up where I had to make either bad decision A or bad decision B, and I wish I could leave that all behind. But so often in life, it feels like it doesn't let you. And I feel like I'm finally at the ranch part of his life, which means I should have about 4 years before somebody comes a calling. But I do see, I guess I connect a lot with that part of John Marston's story. But saying that feels weird because he's also one of the coolest badasses ever. You know what I mean?
If someone knocks on your door and implores you to do something,
right,
you should start being worried.
Well, I got to be afraid of the government.
Yeah,
right? That's who comes for his family.
Yeah. I feel like my answer is a little on the nose too, but as a kid, I felt like I related to Squall from Final Fantasy VIII because he was an awkward character, who wanted love but wasn't putting himself out there for it. He had to kind of be pursued. He didn't go after Renoa. Renoa just kind of happened. Yeah. And
when your wife was pursuing you, did you always just go whatever?
But she did tell me I was the best looking guy in the room, and I looked like that.
Wow.
No, I was.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
I can't believe you were actually more handsome back then.
I assume you got the joke with the.
No, yeah, with his PS1 face.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I was joking that you looked better when you were a PS1 face.
Yes. I grew into this.
Yeah.
Aged into this. No, but I mean, I think that's part of the reason why I liked 8 as much as I did, number one, I was so anticipating that game after 7.
Of course.
But just like he was awkward, and I was an awkward kid, man. I was not. I mean, I got along with everybody. I was outgoing. I was a little bit more outgoing than Squall was, but yeah, I felt like I was an awkward kid in that, and so I related to him a little bit, but also wanted love, even though he didn't like really outwardly say he wanted it. But I wanted what he had. I wanted to fall into love, not like fall in love. I just wanted it to happen to me.
Right.
It happened to him. So anyway,
see, and he's also super cool. See, doesn't it feel weird when comparing yourself to somebody awesome?
I think he's a lot cooler in the cutscenes than he was in the actual game.
Yeah, I think that's fair. That's probably fair.
Like that opening scene when he's fighting Cypher, like he looks awesome, and he's got a gun blade, which is the most ridiculous weapon, but it's awesome, and I don't care.
I want one. It's so cool.
Like seriously, I want a gun blade. Yeah, that's my answer. Alyssa, you think you got the next one?
Drew Ross asks, if they were to add an expansion city to GTA 6 after release that takes place anywhere in the world, which would you choose and why?
I mean, the easy answer, has this been done? Has it been done like in San Francisco? Just like the hills feel like would be nuts.
That would be cool, yeah. Well, yeah. I guess they haven't done San Francisco properly, have they?
Right. Like, I mean, because I've been to San Francisco and I rode the trolley or whatever. They're not messing around, man. Those houses those streets are nuts. It's like straight up. I don't know how people live in those. Like, the architecture in that city's just got to be nuts. But and I would imagine that'd be difficult to render, right? Because I mean, they do height in GTA, but now you're filling that with space.
They put a driver game in San Francisco, but I guess you were just in the car for that.
Yeah. You could do a smaller scale. Council Bluffs, Iowa is like a small scale.
Yeah.
Massive hills. Not quite as not quite. I know that city because that's where my mom lived. And my grandma lived there when we were kids, so we always visited there. And I was just like, these hills are nuts. We were living in Wisconsin, in southern Wisconsin and northern Illinois, like very flat by comparison. Like, these cliffs are nuts. But you guys?
I'd say Tokyo. I just want to drive crazily through those, especially at night, like the neon-soaked streets.
Do people drive crazily through Tokyo? I feel like nobody's just like
but I
cruising.
want to do it in a game.
Right, they're going to in Grand Theft Auto.
Because I'm the worst driver ever when I'm in Grand Theft Auto, because I don't care. I'm like, I'm not going to stop at stop signs and red lights, barrel through, hit people. I'm just having the greatest time of my life driving around.
I think Tokyo would be good if you were still an American, though, and you're just going there and just disrupting all of their polite culture.
Yeah, and
like I'm imagining Trevor Phillips in Tokyo.
Yeah.
Who's Trevor
amazing.
Phillips?
From GTA 5, the
the crazy one.
Yeah.
I wasn't thinking. I thought you were talking about I was thinking you're talking about like YouTube celebrities or something like that. I thought that's who that was. But I forgot that. I forgot. I knew Trevor. I did not correlate Phillips. I didn't remember his last name.
Oh, okay. That's allowed, I guess.
I saw an interview with the guy that did that character. Like, he had no idea what he was doing it for when he was doing all those scenes, which is nuts to me.
He's also he's got that Harrison Ford energy where he hates Grand Theft Auto.
Yes,
which is cool. He keeps calling it a cartoon. He refuses to call it a video game. He's like, no. He's like, no. You guys like me because I did a cartoon character. It's like, all right, man. He's going after that Harrison Ford curmudgeon energy.
Yeah, right. Did I skip anybody?
Yeah, you skipped me, I guess.
Yeah, you skipped that.
Go ahead.
I think London would be fun. I know they did that for the PS1 era GTA. They did London 1969. But it would be nice since
Watch Dogs Legions, wasn't that in London?
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But seeing them with their satire of making fun of their own part of the world, I think there would be some humor that we could not tap into as Americans,
Right.
And I think that would be for them to just kind of kick themselves in the nuts a little bit. I think would be a lot of fun.
I like to see Canada, but do it in the style of South Park.
Oh,
just for flapping heads.
Hey, buddy.
That would be awesome.
That was.
I would just love it if they didn't address it. Like, nobody thinks it's weird. They just happen to have flapping heads.
Dude, did you play the South Park game, the first RPG?
No,
Stick of Truth? Dude,
Yeah.
it's so funny because there's a portion of the game where you go to Canada.
Yeah.
It's like north or whatever. And you go there and the entire map is all like 16-bit. Like everything is just, and it's all like MIDI music for the entire time you're in
so
Canada. It's so funny. It cracks me up. All right. I believe this is the last question. We got another one on Twitter. But Paul Hine asks, he has another one for each of us individually, but he said everybody can contribute as well if they want to. Alyssa, what video game house, castle, or lair would you want to live in?
Okay, my answer's been the same ever since I was a little girl. You can guess. Croft Manor, mostly because there was an indoor swimming pool, and I wanted that swimming pool so bad in real life.
Yeah.
I still want it, but I mean also the library, and then the hidden books that you can pull, and it goes into a secret room.
Nice.
And just all the hidden rooms. There's the freezer where you can, lock the butler in. That's awesome too.
You can lock your staff inside of.
Yep, when they
Right.
annoy you. It was just a cool house. I mean, there's an obstacle course behind it, but I don't have the athletic ability for that. But someone might enjoy that if I lived there and they wanted to visit. But no, I want it for the indoor pool.
Okay.
Wow. I mean, indoor pools are cool. I can't argue against that.
I feel like pools are something that are just awesome in theory and then just wind up being way more work than they're worth. My brother got one, and then all he does is complain about having to shock it and take the skimmer and do all this maintenance to it. And I'm like, I'm gonna have to hire a pool boy, I guess, if I get a pool. I don't want to do that.
You don't want to hire a pool boy?
No. I mean, I would hire.
Okay. That was so weird. What was that answer?
I don't know. There's a connotation when you say pool boy. Watch a lot of movies.
Pool boys and any middle-aged wife.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
No, I just don't want to do the work. I just want to do the work. That's why I've never had any interest in having a pool. What you, Zach?
For a house, castle, lair?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I hate to be predictable and sound like a broken record, but I want to give me Beecher's Hope, John Marston's ranch.
Okay.
I could live a happy life out there. Although Croft Manor holds some appeal, or Spencer Mansion.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
that'd be cool. Can I live in the police department of Resident Evil 2?
Why would you want to live in a police station?
It's like a renovated art museum. It's cool.
Oh, remember when we got to go through the police station in Resident Evil 2? Remember that? We got to walk through with the fake zombies.
Oh yes, you mean you and I? Yes, literally yes.
Yeah,
you're absolutely correct. That was cool. And at E3,
yeah,
our little haunted house experience.
I think that's the thing that bums me out the most about E3 being gone is we will not be able to have that experience together again.
That's
that was a really awesome time.
We could go to a haunted house together.
Oh, I mean, yes, we could. Although you live on the other side of the country, so it makes it a little bit more difficult. Although, but I haven't told you this yet. I'm going to be in Portland in July.
I think you have told me this.
Have I? Okay. So, we're going to have to do something together. Go to next level since you won't go on your own for some reason.
There you go. Yeah. Well, I don't want to go alone. How sad is that?
I offered to send you and Mike. I offered to.
Yeah, that's true. Well, that was when I first moved here, though.
Yeah.
I didn't know which way was up around here.
Ah, okay.
Jeez.
I mean, not just because I'm thinking about it recently, but can I say Balam Garden? Just
there you go.
Just a massive school that flies. Like that whole concept was really cool to me. Like,
well, yeah.
And they call them garden and seed.
It's a big airship.
Yeah. Next one is Zack. This is still from Paul Heim, by the way. What obscure comic book property would you like to get a game made? No, Green Lantern doesn't count. That's low-hanging fruit, not obscure. And it's a travesty that it hasn't happened yet.
Paul is correctly ignoring the movie tie-in Green Lantern Rise of the Manhunter starring Ryan Reynolds for good cause. It's a very, very mediocre game. Obscure comic book property. Okay. I think 2 came to mind. There's either Warlord, which is a DC comic property. So I don't know. I assume it's obscure. I don't know how people know Warlord.
Never heard of it.
But it is a guy who he's like a pilot during the war, and as he's crashing, he falls through a wormhole into the center of the planet where there's another civilization under there, and it's kind of like Conan the Barbarian down towards the center of the Earth energy. So it's a little bit like John Carter, I guess you could say.
Okay.
But that might be fun, like a Middle Earth Shadow of Mordor kind of game, where you could be rallying the enemy armies. And then Grimjack came to mind. I don't know why, because I've read very little of the comic, but it is a 80s, 90s edgy sort of comic book about space pirates. So that'd be kind of fun. But it's like it is very piratey, even though it's in space, which is fun. Like it has, kind of weird looking ships and people with eye patches and goofy stuff like that, which, plenty of space pirate stories, but I don't know how often you see them actually look like old timey pirates. But that sounds fun.
All right. I don't know why a game based on the Amory Wars hasn't happened yet. The Coheed and Cambria
probably costs money.
I can't imagine that's that expensive.
No, I mean, like it would be expensive to make. That has some far out concepts from what I flipped through.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't seem like it would be a cheap video game to make.
Maybe you're right.
Maybe you could do like a turn based, kind of a 16-bit kind of game, maybe.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
He has one for CB. I'm going to save that one for when CB's actually here. And then he asked me, "What is your favorite DJing memory?" I gave one earlier, but I will give you a second one. My brother and I did a wedding. You've been to Rockford, Zach. You familiar with Rock Cut State Park?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
It's like north side of Rockford, McChesney Park. I got hired to do a wedding at this state park, and we get set up. My brother and I were DJing together at that point, and we're setting up, and we're waiting for the bride and groom to show up, and they were running late. I mean, we're talking like picnic tables under a pavilion. This is classy wedding. The bride and groom finally get there, and they open up their doors, and it's like Cheech and Chong, like smoke just like pours out of the car they're out. Oh my God, this is going to be awesome. So we're playing typical wedding music, and then they come up to me and they're like, "Hey, can you play some metal?" And I was
wow.
like, the bride is coming up to me asking me, "Can you play some metal?" So I'm that weirdo that brings all of his CDs, every music I own, I would bring with me. So I had plenty of metal, and we played Machine Head and Static X and all this kind of stuff at a wedding, and they loved it. They thought it was awesome. So that was cool, but then one thing that they didn't tell us and we didn't know is that the state park has a curfew. You can't be in there after a certain amount of time. So all of a sudden this cop shows up and says, "You guys have 25 minutes to get out of here, otherwise you're going to be locked into the park for the night." And we're like, "Well, we didn't know that. Nobody told us this. We were hired." And so I specifically remember my brother, who was still a teenager at the time, like walking towards the cop and like pleading with him, like, "Dude, we have to tear this equipment down. Is there anything you can do to help us out?" And the cop was just, pissed off and crotchety and nothing he could do. So we had to tear down my equipment, which took a lot longer than 25 minutes back then. I could do it now, but and so I had everybody helping. The bride was carrying speakers out to my trailer in her wedding dress. And it made for a pretty hilarious night, and we got out in time. But that whole night was just crazy. Oh, and it started with, because it was in a state park when we were setting up, it was early in the day still. There was a couple that were like off in the distance, clearly, I'm not going to say getting busy, but they were getting close. So
good for them.
So I turned the speakers towards them and played "Let's Get It On" by Marvin Gaye as loud as I could in their direction, and I thought that was pretty funny.
Wow,
so.
A recurring joke of yours when you see people doing it.
Yeah.
Is to play music for them.
Yeah, that's happened before in my basement, actually.
Yes,
yeah. All right. Zach, we got one more from Twitter.
Sure. Carl Bird at Carl by 718499721 asks, how do we keep classic games alive with a younger generation stuck on social media? Well, I think Carl, I think it might be a problem that takes care of itself.
What do you mean?
Multifaceted answer. One, I think that social media actually allows people to find older games that would otherwise be obscure. You can think of the popularity of something like Rule of Rose or Haunting Ground. These things would not be popular without social media.
Yeah.
Or even like, would Helldivers have exploded the way it did without social media?
Probably not. Would Elden Ring have?
Right. Obviously, those aren't classic game examples, but all it takes is the right streamer to play something old school, like say Final Fantasy Renaissance. And all it does is just takes that one person to blow things up, and it can spread like wildfire. But two, and this is more importantly, is that social media engagement continues to decline with younger generations. You
think so?
Like that's not a think so. That's a statistical reality.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Oh yeah. Like the ages of users as the younger generation, they like TikTok, obviously, but like Twitter, Facebook, Reddit, all of that. That's all old people. That's
they have to.
Old people stuff.
They
now.
have to write.
Right. That's touche. They have to read and write there. That's a dangerously good point, actually, Scott. And maybe, oh boy, now I got to rethink everything. So I guess in many ways, social media is just transforming. Yeah, because Snapchat seems to be popular with young kids too.
Mm-hmm.
Dang, Scott,
I think it's popular for not
sexy. I think it used to be popular for sexy reasons. Now it just feels like it's just popular.
Yeah, that's where the kids are. What's your Snap?
I think millennials still use it for the other reason, but
that's good. That's what.
No,
Us old people, us old fogies.
Yeah.
I think the better question is how do we keep single player games alive?
That's
I think that's going to be the bigger question because I mean, I'm not going to go as far as to say that they're dying, but they're clearly not the bigger market anymore. You know,
for sure, yeah.
People want to play with their friends. They want to play against each other. They want to compete. They want to play together. They just want to take each other down and compete with one another, and that makes me sad because I miss my me time. You know, not having to talk to somebody, and I don't know. So, what do you think, Alyssa?
I don't really know. I guess the best way to preserve those games and to bring them more to the forefront would be going the remake remaster route. Because like I had never played Resident Evil 4 before it came out. The remake came out. So they allow people to play a game. It's not gonna be the same game as the classic. Like they're gonna make changes, whether it's just minor like graphical updates or updated controls or major where they change story beats or characters or whatnot. But I think that's probably the best way to introduce a game to a younger generation is to update it for modern consoles.
Which I find somewhat frustrating because all you need to do is spend 10 or 15 minutes of those old games and you can get your head around it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, a lot of younger people aren't gonna don't want to look for the console and
No, they're not gonna look for the console, but I also don't think they're gonna have a problem with it. As an example, I brought to my classroom one time one of those, those little consoles that you hook up with RCA cords and it's got like all the games built into it.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody bought me one that was on the Atari 2600, and I brought that and showed it to my kids and let them play it. They had a blast with it, dude. And those are like stick figures playing bowling. Like they thought that was so much fun. Granted, they had so much fun for 10 minutes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But you're not going to pay $40 for a game like that nowadays. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, maybe we should have more faith in the. How many of us, I guess, go back and watch movies from the 30s? You know what I mean? Like generations just move on.
Yeah, I mean, Citizen Kane is still like supposedly like the top film on AFI's top 100 or whatever.
Yeah,
I watched that once.
Never met anybody that liked it.
Right, same here.
I've never watched it. I did watch another Orson Welles film, and I did not like that film, Touch of Evil. So I don't know how I feel about Citizen Kane, but I have watched actually quite a bit of older films recently. But also, I'm a millennial. I'm in my 30s. I'm not that generation.
Well, it's also a pacing thing. I feel like movies were paced so much differently than they are now.
Sure. Most of them were shorter back in the day, so they were paced quicker.
I don't know.
Now, well, there are some that are longer. Now movies take their time. Whole different discussion, but
I will say that
I think movies there was like the 60s and 70s has a lot of slow paced movies.
Mm-hmm.
But if you go like 50s or 40s before that, they are faster paced. That's like the height of noir where you were getting in and out in 70 minutes with a crime.
Mm-hmm.
And then but then you get back to the 2000s and 2010s, of course, it was nothing but quick editing, obnoxiously fast paced. But now it feels like we are back to longer, slower movies.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So it is interesting.
Dune,
Melissa.
Oppenheimer.
Right?
Are,
yeah, who would have known a 3.5 or a 3 hour biopic can make where nothing's happening but people talking can make $1 billion.
Mm-hmm.
It seems.
Well, thank you, Carl, for that tweet. Do appreciate it. That is our topic. Thank you so much for all the questions, everybody. It's always a blast. Next week's topic is one that Zack suggested. We're going to talk about mini games. I think Final Fantasy VII Rebirth is the inspiration for this because there's just so many mini games in that. What are some of your best games or that have mini games in them, and what are the best mini games you've played, or maybe card games, things like that?
The games within games.
Yeah, game. That's what we'll call it. Games within games. That'll be our topic for next week. So stay tuned for social media. We're looking forward to hearing answers from that. But that is going to do it for this episode of The Gaming Outsider. Thank you so much for listening. The episode was produced by Kevin Honigford. All the music you hear is written and performed by Grant Henry of Stemage and Metroid Metal. His website is stemagemusic.com. Please be sure to email us if you have any questions or concerns. Our address is feedback@thegamingoutsider.com. Zach, do you have any parting words or recommendations for our listeners?
Really don't, man. I think somewhat understandably, it was my week was Final Fantasy.
Yeah.
I was trying to finish Trails in the Sky before Final Fantasy came out, and then having no such luck.
All right, Alyssa?
I'll recommend my favorite anime of the season. There's only I think 4 episodes left, but that's still another month. It's called A Sign of Affection. I have read the manga. It's still ongoing. It's one of my favorite manga series, and then the anime is very faithfully adapted. It's about this, I believe she's 19, 19-year-old girl named Yuki, and she is deaf. She was born deaf. She's used to it. She's on the train one day, and this foreigner comes up to her, and he's trying to ask her for directions, but he doesn't realize she's deaf, and she's freaking out. And then this guy named Itsuomi, who is 22, comes up, and he sees her hearing aids and realizes. He tells the guy where to go. And then they just connect, and Itsuomi starts learning sign language so he can speak with her, and he also purposely moves his lips slower when he's speaking so that she can read his lips. But then she's also trying to not be self-conscious about being deaf because she's afraid this guy she likes isn't gonna like her back, and it's very sweet, and the representation's great, and it's just something that I look forward to watching every week, and seeing how faithful it is to the manga is also really great. I don't love that people are slandering Itsuomi, though. They're like, he's a red flag. I'm like, no, he's not. Stop it. Her best friend is a red flag, but, Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I know, I agree. Definitely. Best friend's a red flag.
I got a couple quick ones. First one is I discovered a band today, actually. I get recommendations on TikTok when I'm scrolling through, or even Facebook has some once in a while. And I discovered this band called Shallow Side. Alyssa, have you ever heard of the band Shallow Side?
I don't believe so.
Because they're from Coleman, Alabama.
Oh, they are?
Whoa.
Okay.
Yeah, like it was a random coincidence. I've only listened to one song, and part of the reason I'm saying it, I'm bringing it up is because I just saw that they were from Coleman. So, they're like a early 2000s edgy rock band. My friend David would refer to them as butt rock, and I don't mean that in a negative way, but like he thinks like Soundgarden is butt rock, and I like Soundgarden. So
The Sonic the Hedgehog games all have butt rock soundtracks.
Right. But the real one I wanted to recommend is I just randomly put a movie on Hulu while I was working this weekend, and Next Goal Wins. I know you're not a sports person, Alyssa, and Zach, you're not a huge sports person, but this is your typical ragtag team of soccer players that that get a new coach that doesn't want to be there and all this kind of, there's nothing new going on with the story except this one's based on a true story. It's the American Samoa team that, like, their last game they lost like 31-0. So like it's notoriously awful team, and he's got to resurrect them, but there's something about, it's Michael Fassbender is playing the coach, and I just found him really entertaining to watch. And I laughed out loud on more than one occasion. Just like there's just goofy, silly stuff that happens in this movie, and I thought it was a charming, sweet movie, and I thought it was worth a watch. So, Next Goal wins on Hulu.
Cool.
All right. Thanks, everybody, for listening once again, and thanks to Zach and Alyssa. I appreciate it. Until next week, I'm Scott Clark with Zach Parkerson and Alyssa White, and we are The Gaming Outsider. And remember, there's no such thing as a bad game, just games that aren't for you.
I'm off to chase a one-winged angel.